Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 387. I am Peter, and joining me on this Christmas edition is Matt.
Hey, I would say I'm jolly, but you know, closer to jolly than I have been.
It just occurred to me this would be going out publicly on Christmas Eve, so yes, Merry Christmas everyone. Now I said last week Connor would probably be here this week, and I was correct in that he was free. He is free today. However, when I said, are you going to be on the show, he responded with, I've not read any books in a month and a half. There is no way I'll be ready. So
he should have just come out for the vibes.
Yeah, he should have just sat there and chimed in occasionally. But it's
a Christmas miracle. Connor's on here, but he's not talking.
He's so I'm not taking responsibility for his antics. I refuse. Anyway, as a DC Comics podcast, we're here today. We talk about the books we read this week from DC. Coming up on this week's show, we have Titans Beast World Tour Central City issue 1. We have Superman issue 9, Wonder Woman issue 4, Nightwing 109, Green Lantern War Journal issue 4, Batman Superman World's Finest 22, Batman Off-World issue 2, J. Garrick the Flash issue 3, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 3, and Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong issue 3. So that is what's coming up on the show.
Okay.
They didn't bother giving us a quiet week for Christmas. They said, no. You could have 10 books and like it. And we're like, okay, I guess we will.
One of them's going to be oversized, one of them's going to be a regular size, but it's Tom King. So it's going to be wordy.
Yes. That was bad. Last week had two. Well, I mean, last week had 12 books for a start, but two of them were Black Label books that were 50 plus pages. So a little bit better this week, but still pretty packed. Mm-hmm. So hey, we got a lot to talk about, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
but it should be a little bit shorter than last time, is what I would say. So
just a teensy bit.
But yeah, we're here. We got some Christmas vibes. Annual episodes coming up soon, where we'll talk about the best of the year stuff, and we'll have that for you as an extra episode. So hopefully you guys have fun with that. But I guess I should probably mention a DC movie came out this week.
Yeah,
like it's almost just such a non-event now because superhero movies are just so thick and fast, but. On top of that, this second Aquaman movie is just being farted out when the world it's connected to was already cancelled like over a year ago. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, hey, this was already made. Here it is.
Feels like the last of the New 52 books that still had to ship, but Rebirth had already started.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's opening weekend is only... I think being projected at 40 million, but notably, and this is important, that's the 4-day weekend. That's not the traditional 3-day weekend. So that's including Monday for Christmas. So that ain't great. That's actually lower than the Marvels when that got its regular weekend, which was underperforming, and it'll probably beat Blue Beetle, but that's not saying a whole much. So honestly, I think 2023 is the year that superhero movies kind of died. Like, not to say that they're going away or that we're not going to have more and that there won't ever be another big success, but the fact that almost all of them, other than Guardians 3, bombed is pretty notable. And I feel like Marvel and Warner's, but especially Marvel, because they rely so heavily on their Marvel stuff, they've got to be shaking in their boots.
Yeah, just Disney as a whole, too, because even their last couple animated films didn't do particularly well.
Yeah, it's true.
So, just kind of Disney as a whole. And
Indy didn't do well either.
But yeah, I was trying to think, like, what movies have been kind of surprising. It's been like Godzilla -1, right? That's been, trying to phrase the unstoppable monster this year. But that's the most, like, that movie's had the most buzz of any movie this year. I'm trying to think.
To be fair, Barbenheimer was a pretty big phenomenon.
That's true too, but...
And they both made a lot of money. Like, Godzilla -1's doing good for a foreign film, but it's not, like, changing like.
I just like that. Like I rushed out to see it because it was only going to be limited.
Yes.
Right, but then it keeps getting extended, which is really cool. Like go see that movie in the theater.
The Terrifier 2 effect.
Yes, sure. Just this one was, Terrifier 2, much more chaotic than Godzilla. That's for sure. And one has a gigantic monster trashing parts of Tokyo.
One has a
giant Arctic clown.
One has a human-sized monster trashing a suburban town.
Yeah, in Ohio, right? That's where that movie takes place.
I have no idea where that movie takes place. I couldn't tell you.
Might get into that, but yeah, no, Barbenheimer. Yeah, but I remember everybody talking about that, and I just feel like movie buzz, at least the parts of the internet and my friend groups, is kind of at an all-time low right now. Like, there's just not, there's no buzz, no excitement to go to the movies.
I'll disagree a bit. I think there was more buzz this year than there was the last couple.
Yeah?
And maybe, admittedly, comparing it to pandemic years is a little bit of a cheat. But, I feel like Barbenheimer, I think the Animated Turtles movie got some buzz. I feel like there was a reasonable amount of stuff. People seem to like Evil Dead Rise. Like, I think there was enough interesting stuff sprinkled throughout the year that I would say overall it's felt like a decent year for movies to me. Next year, funnily enough, I have two hopes. One is that there's almost no superhero movies, and that's kind of refreshing. Which is not to say that the big studio stuff isn't all sequels and franchise shit, because it mostly is. But I just recorded a thing with Tim for Patreon, looking ahead to the horror movies that are coming next year. And there's a lot of interesting things sort of on the horizon. There's a new Oz Perkins movie coming out. There's
They Follow.
There's the obvious big sequels and things. There's Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. There's a Wolfman from Lee Whannell coming out. So there's a lot of interesting things coming next year.
Yeah, which that took a hit. Now, I like Lee Whannell, but that was supposed to be Gosling, and he had to step out for whatever reason.
He did, yeah. He's no longer involved.
Which bums me out, but I'm still going to go see a Wolfman movie. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little better than I was. I honestly, 2022, although actually horror had a very good year. 2022 for horror was fantastic. But movies as a whole, like, as far as the big stuff goes, I remember just being bored and not giving a shit for anything all year. It was a really dour year for big tentpole stuff. This year was a bit better, and I think if they can at least keep it at this level, I'll be a bit happier. But I don't know, we'll see.
What other? We have Dune coming out next year, right? Or they get pushed?
No, that's coming out. You got Dune Part 2. You got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You got Furiosa. You got Ghostbusters. Frozen Empire. I can't remember the title of it there. What else is next year? There's some other stuff, but those are the ones that were springing to head. Godzilla Cross Kong's coming out. So
just
stuff,
But I don't know. And there's not a lot out right now too that I feel like going to see. Like Iron Claw's out, but I don't know if I need to rush out. I could watch that at home.
It's December to be fair. Like I'm just glad that next year has almost no superhero movies. And I realize that might sound weird on a comic book podcast, but here's the thing. My appetite for superhero comic books and superhero movies are very different right now. Yeah. My fatigue with the movies has no bearing on my reading of the comics. Yeah. But the thought of superhero movies coming. There was I think you responded to a tweet the other day, which was like, what DC character deserves a movie? And my thought was, none of them. I don't want any more movies.
Hey, when I can put Booster Gold's name out to the universe, I'm going to do it. You know?
I want different movies. Give me something interesting. Give me something that's separate from superheroes. We can do other things.
That was, we were talking before we started, how I'm having a hard time finding new stuff to watch, and I just kind of want to go back and watch the same things. Like my wife telling me last night, no, we're not watching The Rocketeer again. Just stuff like that, which did make me want a new Rocketeer. And then I remember there was supposed to be a project. I can't remember if it was a series or a new movie that got scrapped. So I kind of want superhero adjacent things. You know me. I love pulpy, that kind of stuff. So something along those lines would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I've got a good handful of 2023 movies I want to get to that seem potentially very good.
Yes.
Heard lots of good things about Past Lives. I do want to check out Holdovers. I've still need to see Spider-Verse, which is a superhero movie, but it's a little bit different.
It's I would say hold off because it's not that it feels like half of a movie, but just the way that it ends.
I mean, you say this, but it's going to be 2026 at least before the
I know now.
comes out.
So, but it was very good. Even though it was like 2 hours and it was like 2 hours 25 minutes, almost 2.5 hours. It moved even at home with its animation style, which I thought I would get a little bit not tired of, but it's really flashy, right? Like I thought I'd get overwhelmed, and they do a very good job at handling that. Can't believe you still haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I never wait to see it. There's a couple of foreign movies that I'm waiting until they're available. Like I've heard really good things about Anatomy of a Fall, so I want to see that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff. It's just you just need to go look for it. You need to be aware where it is.
What's the new Emma Stone, not Frankenstein movie, but like Frankenstein?
I have no idea.
Mark Ruffalo. It's the new Yorgos movie.
Oh, okay.
The guy that did The Lobster.
I mean,
yeah.
I have no idea.
I want to say it's called like Pretty Things or Poor Things, something like that. That's out. I don't know if I want to see it though. That trailer made me kind of cringe. But
yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I've not heard of this one as of yet. So.
Really? Oh man.
I don't think so. I don't remember anyway. So, anywho, we've got some comic book stuff to talk about. So we will start off with what we all start off with, which was the ComiXology Top 10, which is Matt's favorite segment of the show.
Yep.
All right, we're looking at Tuesday first. What do you think number one is?
I'm trying to think if it would be Off-World or if it's going to be Wonder Woman. And I'm probably wrong on both fronts. So I'll go with Wonder Woman. I'll take a shot. No? All right. Is it Off-World? Don't tell me it's Titans Beast World. Oh, whoa. Really? Is it Superman? Nightwing. What is going on? Is it that Kong Factor? All right, I'm out. What am I missing? Am I missing a book?
Number one is Batman Superman World's Finest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know it's always in the top 3, but hey, man, good for Waid and Mora.
Yeah, people are reading the World's Finest. We got Nightwing 109 at number 2. Number 3 is Wonder Woman. Number 4 is Superman. Number 5 is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. Number 6 is Batman Off-World. Number 7 is J. Garrick the Flash. Number 8 is Titans Beast World Tour Central City. Number 9 is Green Lantern War Journal. And number 10 is Santa Claus Silent Night. Which, literally, that is the 10 books we read. The entire top 10 is the 10 books we read.
Dang.
So very good. We're on the pulse with what's selling. Hot Girls at 11, Catwoman's at 12, and then, from there it's Weird Things and old Marvel, like, digital uploads for stuff that they hadn't gotten to yet. Like Silver Surfer 144 from the 90s. Exciting stuff. All right, Wednesday. If we look at the Wednesday, Matt, what do you think?
I'm looking for for smaller numbers first, and then stuff with like with a colon, but I don't see too much. Which I'm gonna go with Uncanny Spider-Man 5.
That is incorrect. I'm afraid.
All right.
I'm afraid.
Wolverine.
That is also incorrect.
Wow. It's not Amazing Spider-Man, is it?
It is not.
What the heck? Spawn?
Nope.
Okay. There, I see it. It's Uncanny Avengers.
Nope.
What? I said that with such confidence.
You did. You absolutely did. No, number 1 is Original X-Men issue 1.
What is this book? I thought it was a reprinting. That's why I didn't say anything. Because it looks like a reprint of the Bendis era.
It's just a new comic about the Original X-Men by Christian Engage, who, if I remember correctly, was a writer on some of the Angel comics back in the day.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong, but his name's
now he's writing a different Angel.
That's true. That's true. So that's neat. Number 2 is Gods, issue 3. That's the Jonathan Hickman book.
Oh.
Yeah. Number 3 is Uncanny Avengers. Number 4 is Uncanny Spider-Man. Number 5 is Wolverine. Number 6 is G.I. Joe. Okay.
Oh, Joe.
Fair enough. Number 7 is Amazing Spider-Man. Number 8 is a Superior Spider-Man. Wait, so we had Uncanny Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Superior Spider-Man all in the same week?
Yeah, and there's also a spine-tingling Spider-Man.
Oh, bloody hell. Number 9 is Astonishing Iceman, and number 10 is Doctor Strange. So there you go. I'm just scrolling down to see if there's anything interesting to mention from further down. There was some Star Wars books, but none of them made it into the top 10. Yeah.
Oh.
What's that?
No, there's a Cap Wolf from the Howling Commandos book that I was completely unaware of until right now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I'm just noticing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book is at issue 146, and they've got a big banner saying the road to 150, so they're building up to something big. I have no idea what's going on the cover, though. It appears to be Leonardo without his headband, and he's holding like a sword that's glowing in energy, so...
Well, he looks like he's out in Monument Valley, too. Out in, like, the desert.
Yeah. And when I say glowing, I don't mean like a lightsaber. It's more like a sword that's got tech in it.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Kind of like when they draw Katana's Soul Taker, and it, like, charges up almost.
But you can see, like, sort of lines, like there's, like, a sort of circuit board on it.
Mm-hmm. So as Donatello uncovers the truth about Armagon's origins, the time-eating tyrant begins to exert his influence on one of the Turtles' allies. It's a race against time as the road to 150 continues. So, cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see it still going. I read up to about issue 60 back when I was first reading it. And at the time, that wasn't too far behind from where it was at, so it's been a while. So, one day it's definitely a run that I'll work my way through, because I grew up being a Turtles fan. So,
who's your turtle?
I mean, I like all of them, but if I'm being forced to pick, it's Raph.
Okay, you're a Raph guy. I figured you were either gonna be Donnie or Leo, so Raph was kind of a curve.
Yeah, and I said Leo when I was a kid, but I think it's Raph.
Yeah. See, mine was Mikey as a kid, and then as time has gone on, Donnie's my guy, especially in the movies. I love him and Mikey's back and forth. So.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's the ComiXology top 10. So we can just get into the books then and get firing through these. Up first this week we have Titans Beast World Tour Central City issue 1. And what an interesting book this was. So let's try to do something different from the other one-shots so far, in that it had kind of a main story that it kept going back to throughout. And all the other stories by different writers and teams, they were kind of like set at the same time. So basically the framing device here is that Barry's in the main story with Iray, and he sends out a call for the other speedsters in the city, and then the other stories are when they hear his call and what they're up to, but then it sort of comes back round to them all being in the main story by the end. So I definitely preferred that as a concept. It seemed like it was trying to do something a bit smarter with the overall narrative technique. I will say I have some bones to pick with some art here, because is it just me, or did Iray, Jay, and Maxine, who is Animal Man's daughter, who's also in this, and she's been friends with those kids from the previous Flash run. Yep. They all look like they were 20 in this issue.
Yeah. Their ages jump from, in some art, they look like kids, right? When we see Iray in, like, the Howard Porter stuff, they look like kids. And then in other ones, like the main part of it, they look older than Avery and Ace.
Yeah, like Irie runs in. It's the bottom of the first page. Irie runs in, and she looks as tall as Iris does, right?
For a hot second, I thought it was Jessie Quick.
Yeah, she looks too old. Nothing about her looks like a. I mean, she's maybe what, like 12, maybe at most.
Yeah, I mean, middle school at the most.
Yeah, if anything, more like 10-year-old is what I was thinking. So she comes in and, like, you know, she's been drawn like an adult, right? She's got all the curves and all that, and she's super tall. Her face looks older, and I'm like, what's going on here? Why does she look so old? And this is set during Beast World. This is just going on right now, so it's really weird. And the same kind of rings true for the other kids as well, for Jay and Maxine. But and Jay especially, like when he's in costume towards the end, like they're doing some wild things with his physique. Like his top of half of his body's like bulking up like he's Rob Liefeld on steroids.
I was gonna say he looks like Brock Lesnar, but now.
Like, but comically so. Like his upper half is so bulky. It's something wild's going on, and it's not even like I hate all the like. It sounds like I hate the artist who's doing the main story, and I don't actually think I do. I think there's other bits in it that I quite like, but I think those characters all look too old. It's almost like the artist just knows they can't do kids, so like, no, I'm not going to try. They're just going to be they're going to be 18 years old and just deal with it.
So thumbing through this, it's the Alex Packnottle story that starts with Jay and Maxine, and they're on a date, and it looks like Riverdale. This looks like
it's not. To be fair, I still think they look too old in that story though. It's not as bad, but they still look too old.
Yeah, but I'm looking. They look like teenagers, not like preteens.
Yeah, and
they're meant to be preteens because again, this looks like they're on a soda shop date on Riverdale. You know. And then it's just, you know, just art inconsistencies. But after the last two that we had, they were kind of just grab bags. I'll take the inconsistent art to at least there's a through line. Like, I don't feel like I wasted my time reading this.
Yeah.
Like this, I felt like we got a good case of what was going on in Central City during Beast World.
Yeah, I will say most of the times when it cut away from the main story, I didn't enjoy those like cutaways that much, with the exception of the kids. Like the kids on their, so it's basically Jay and Maxine are on like a date, but he doesn't know it's a date, and it does play like they're young. It plays like, oh, they've never done this before, and it's, you know, like she's trying to flirt with him, and I enjoyed Irie. She finds out being kind of disgusted that they're on a date. Yeah. It's kind of cute. It's all very pleasant. I enjoyed that. All the other times it cut away to the other stories by other teams, though, I found myself, because, you know, one of them is the Speed Force team, and we don't like that book, so obviously I wasn't really into the writing of that part of the story.
Oh, God. And then Circuit Breaker, I'm just not like... that character just feels superfluous.
What's so funny is it cut to Circuit Breaker. I'm like, okay, I vaguely... Like, that sounds familiar, but I don't remember who you are. And then someone mentioned the Still Force, and I was like, oh no, no.
Yeah. That said, we got a good Piper appearance. I like when we can get Pied Piper showing up.
I mean, I don't mind Pied Piper, but it was in that story with Circuit Breaker, so I was just kind of checked out at that point.
I will say too, with the Speed Force story, while we're talking stuff that kind of annoyed us, I couldn't tell what was going on with the Garo spore. Right? Because the way that it keeps jumping between Avery and Ace.
There's several pages during the fighting towards the end that I just straight up didn't know what was happening, because it's just kind of a mess.
Yeah, and I was just like, like, I want to enjoy the story. I like it, you know, the whole idea of them trying to figure out as Flashes that how to deal with these spores. I just couldn't tell, like when it jumped from Avery to Ace, I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And then just, again, I don't care about this video game that the Ace is very infatuated with. But apparently it's a move from the game as it's able to disrupt, you know, Garo. So, I mean, I guess that it served its purpose there, is it shows us how the Flashes are going to be able to, you know, free these spores from people.
Yeah, I did think it was a bit, like... When he actually says the code out loud for what you do in the game to get the move, it felt a bit like, okay, you're trying really hard to be gimmicky, and I don't like it. This is why I didn't like Speed Force. I hated all the dialogue about video games and shit.
It reminded me why I didn't read issue 2, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, but no, I did like the stuff with the kids the most. I think they're really likable characters. The ongoing chemistry between them is quite nice. Maxine using her Animal Man powers to try and like fight back, and yeah, it is kind of interesting how her and her dad fit into all this when this is all animal based. So they should be kind of secret weapons, and they kind of are, because she's able to do a couple of fancy things with her powers in this. Like, the end of the story, because so the main thing they're dealing with in this story, and oh God, I just got to the first page where Jay's got his big bulky top half. It's actually horrible. I don't understand what they were thinking with this. Like, has he ever been shown when he's using his strength to actually like balloon?
Yeah, I remember, but it was when he first was learning how to use it. It's almost like because it's not quite the Speed Force, right? It goes into where he needs it. So I remember him having like a bigger top half to show that he was strong. But it was also because he was a kid, so it looked silly. So I figured that was the point of it. I mean, it makes me laugh, so at least there's points there, you know?
Yeah, I do like, him and Maxine like sharing ideas, and then just the next panels, Ivory being like, "This is disgusting," like just because they're clearly being flirty, they're clearly agreeing with each other, and she doesn't like it. But anyway, the main gist of this whole story, other than the fact that the Beast World stuff's going on, is specifically that Godspeed has become like
a murder hornet.
A murder hornet. And he's using these powers to split up into multiple hornets. So that's what the main thing that they'll all try to deal with by the end of the story. And the way they resolve it all is that Maxine uses Iris to... Well, first of all, Irie and Maxine tell Barry and the Speedsters they have to let themselves be taken over by the spores, which does seem like a really silly idea. But they all turn into bees. And one of the things we were complaining about with the first couple of Beast World issues is is there any logic or reason as to why certain people turn into certain things? I got the impression from this that Maxine used her powers to ensure that they all turn into the same animals. But they all turn into big bees, right? So we get all these like bees in like speedster colors. And the idea is that because they're now a hive, Maxine uses her powers and uses Iris as their queen to control them. So at the end of this tie-in, all the speedsters are still bees, but they're doing good things because Maxine and Iris are
because the hierarchy of a beehive.
So
which I liked. It was like a really smart take on the Beast World stuff.
Yeah, it was all right. It was fun.
And the way that Maxine's able to adjust the red, basically, and that's how she's able, because you see when the spores go into them, they get different. So like Avery ends up with like an eel, and Ace has like a muskox head and stuff, and so she's able to take those and turn them into bees, which I thought was, again, it feels like a story progression for Beast World.
Yeah, it feels like this may actually be important in the main story at some point, that the Animal Man characters can do this.
Yep.
That they can influence what creatures people are turning into. And then it's not like a hard rule. Just because Batman turned into a wolf initially doesn't mean that if it goes... Let's say the spore leaves him and goes back in, it doesn't mean that he'll just turn into the same animal again.
Yeah. That said, it seemed all the Flashes turned into lizards at one point, right? Because Impulse is like one of those frilled lizards. Avery and Ace both turn into they almost have dinosaur heads and stuff. So I thought that was curious. Captain Cold is a polar bear, though. I want to be mad at it, but we got a polar bear wearing Captain Cold's glasses.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's so funny.
Yeah. That's a funny visual. Just to go back out to some art negativity, the story with Circuit Breaker and Pied Piper, this was one again where I literally just didn't know what was happening for several panels because it was just all swirly action lines. It's the page where on the bottom right hand, Pied Piper says rats. They can never hold a steady beat. But most of the panels on that page, I couldn't tell you what was happening in them. It's just lots of swirls, and you get the sense that two of them are fighting, but it's all the colors are just being mashed together. And there's, I'm not a fan of the art on that particular story.
Yeah, I won't disagree.
Yeah, that's Al Kaplan, who seems to both write and do the art on that one. But yeah, I think overall I appreciated that this tried to build a framework that everything sort of fit together in. I still feel like some of the individual stories that are sort of nestled within were mostly kind of fluffy, but I did like the one with the kids, and I did like that it all built to something at the end. So I at least felt like there was more going on in this one.
Yeah.
And there was seeing all the bees. You know, you got the main Barry bee, you got the Wallace bee, you got the
one thing that Spurrier's doing, and I do appreciate it, because when you have so many of these characters, it's trying to define Barry, and Barry's upset because he's no longer the fastest man, right? Because that's gone to Wally. I don't know if that is the best time to be addressing that is in this. I feel that should be a story point in the main book, right?
I mean, I think if it's important in the main book, it will probably come up in some other way in the main book. I actually kind of like that it made it feel like if you are reading that Flash run, which we are, then this feels like it fits into that run at the same time as it fits into the event, and it gives it a bit of a coherent, connected world feeling to it, where it's not just someone else randomly writing Flash in this story that doesn't connect up at all with what the status quo is in the main Flash book. This at least ensures, no, this is what the characters are going through. This is something the writers maybe even seeding for later on in his own run. It can be essential, because you can't just assume that everyone reading the Flash is going to read the event, and specifically this tie-in. But I can at least respect that it does feel like it does. It feels like the event's tying in to the ongoing Flash run, as opposed to just tying in to the Flash in a way where it's just someone randomly writing, a generic, could be any time frame Flash character,
Right. Well, and then again, Spurrier had Barry's voice down about, how he's feeling, like he's the extra Flash now with the whole family. And part of the story for him to get this through is Irie kind of talking him up. Is like, no, you're the original. Like, You're the original Speed Force guy. We're all here because of you. So own that. And on top of that too, I also like that the whole Flash legacy, when Maxine's trying to talk about Jay, and he says that it's a silly hat, and Jay corrects her. I just thought that was funny, that younger Jay's protecting, or not protecting, but sticking up for older Jay, wearing his, Mercury hat. I think it's called a kettle hat or something, like a kettle helmet, something along those lines. Just little character stuff like that I really appreciated. And those are both the Spurrier stuff too. So
yeah, I also, which is a good sign, because he's writing the Flash run. If we're finding more to like with his Flash writing, that's good. I did also really like that pretty much everyone was like, who's this animal chick? We don't know who this is. Who is this girl? I got a chuckle out of that, and no one knowing who that was. It's interesting, because I think it is definitely a flawed book overall, because you have some of those like shorter stories within that I do think are a bit of a chore to get through. And to be honest, one or two of them I started just kind of skimming towards the end of them to get back to the...
Yeah.
Because, I get it. They're hearing the call, they're going to come and join the rest of the characters. What they were doing on their own almost doesn't matter that much.
I almost forgot Circuit Breaker's in this book, and then we started talking about it.
Yep.
Because I skimmed through it when we got to that one. But I do appreciate that, if we're going to have more tie-ins, if we're going to have more tie-ins for Beast World, I hope they're more like this and less like the other two we read.
I'm not feeling confident, Matt.
Yeah, true. One next week. Let's look.
I'm not feeling confident. We'll find out at the end of the show what's next week. But what are you rating Titans Beast World Tour Central City?
I'm going to give this I'll give it 6.5.
That's actually what I was going to give it.
Wow.
I think it's just not quite there to be called good, just because you do have to put up with some of those other stories that are sort of shoved into the middle of it. But it's definitely the best of the tie-ins so far, because it feels like it has an overall idea and thing that it's building to. So, yeah. And if nothing else, the fact that this is the issue that has Jay and Maxine on their first date means that there's at least something in here that makes it like, oh, this is actually at least somewhat important if you like these characters, because they're doing something that's actually the next step in their journey. So that's something. That's worth something. All right, there you go. That's Beast World Tour Central City. Next up, we got Superman issue 9, Legacy 852. This is Joshua Williamson writing with Bruno Redondo on the art, which is sad because it means he's not on Nightwing. probably for a while.
Yeah, but the art looks so good here.
Yeah, but probably was on Nightwing.
Yes, I know. It's one of those sacrificial things. We're like, yeah, Nightwing, but as a Superman fan, this is great. I love the clean lines. Like this type of Superman art that I really like.
Yeah, no, but this is not me arguing. I also love Superman, but Tom Taylor's run is much better than Joshua Williamson's run, so I want the good art on that run.
True, but what I am saying is I'm not going to say no to Redondo drawing Superman because I like the way it looks. You know, like I'm okay. That said, don't take him away from Nightwing for too long. That's all.
Yeah. So Superman was injured after the fight at the end of the last issue. He had a lot of kryptonite kind of glowing on him, kind of thing.
Yeah, kryptonite poisoning.
So here, the issue starts with Lois reading letters that people all over the world are sending him to wish him the best, basically. She's reading them to him as he's unconscious, getting healed by the technology at Supercorp. So, and she's getting teary-eyed, she's having memories, and this is where you see the Redondo art kind of shining, because it's doing a really good job of building up kind of these moments where she's, just hesitating, getting upset, and then going back to reading more letters. But yeah, so we see everyone sort of pulling for Superman. Lex is talking to his mother at Stryker's Island, where she's basically just telling him he's a big disappointment to her, because, that's what she does. And we find out that Lena has already graduated high school and has now got a job at Supercorp, and she's working with the other scientist on keeping the chained. Chained. Basically. So, yeah.
I have a feeling it's not a good place for him. There's a reason he was buried too far under there, right?
Yeah. It's also funny to me, like, you have someone that he's clearly going to want to kill. Like, he's going to see Lena as the best target. Yeah. So if he ever does get free, and there's that one panel of his eyes coming from beneath the sort of the
ominous.
It's like the helmet or whatever they've got. I'm chained up in.
We'll call it the helm. But yeah, and it's got the Redondo dot shading in there, so it gives it like this pulpy, like creepiness to it, like an old horror comic. So I like that panel a lot.
Yeah. So Lois makes up an excuse for why her and Clark aren't at the planet. She's on the phone to Jimmy and says, we just had to get away. And he's like, yeah, but like, who's in charge when you're not here? And I'm like, oh yeah, she's the editor. Like, she's kind of important to the operation. And she says, you're in charge. So Jimmy's left in charge of the Daily Planet. And this is when Superman gets up and they have this whole big hug and whatever. And then Lois has a moment and realizes, wait a minute, did I just leave Jimmy Olsen in charge of the Daily Planet? So yeah, maybe we'll have some antics from that, some fun.
Yeah, and then Superman's like, in that, they do the font bubble with all the squiggly lines, which I'm always assuming is, like a kind of like a whisper. He goes, yeah, I think you did. What are you doing here? So just him getting, instantly knowing what's going on, and being back into it. But the stuff I thought with Mercy, those panels, the coloring here, there's something about the shaded pink Superman that I don't know where the pink's coming from, right? Like, is this supposed to be just the light from that room, from like the lamp that's hitting him? But it looks really good. Like, the coloring here is on point, despite otherwise,
Yeah, Mercy comes in and first of all says drop the act. Like, Lex had me in the whole secret identity thing. I know he's Clark, so we don't have to pretend that I don't know why you're here, Lois. But people will start asking questions, so you're going to have to be sneaky about it. But basically they're saying, okay, what's happening next? What is Farm and Graph going to be doing? They're now the main thing to worry about. And they're like, okay, well, we know where they're going next, because we heard last time that Marilyn Moonlight was someone that Lex had wronged, and that's going to be the next person they try and recruit. So Superman, because his suit's damaged, he has to take the one that Lex made, although he obviously modified, because it's still green and purple, so he kind of obviously when we see him in a couple of pages, he's turned it into a Superman suit, but he is wearing this very armored looking Superman outfit.
Yeah, it's the Lex suit without the helmet, right? Like he's got the big shoulders, and then he puts, of course, the Superman S on there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, he's got the spray paint out. He's done a quick job. But yeah, so basically, is this Farm or is this Graf? I can never remember which one.
That's Farm.
That's Farm, right?
No, Mr. Graf's the other guy.
So Farm is trying.
Oh wait, no, that's Graft. You're right, because she says, Marilyn says, "I go where I'm needed, and I'm not playing any of your games, Graft."
Okay.
To be fair, we haven't seen Farm in a minute though, right? Like.
No, we have, but we always see them together, so I never know which one's which.
Right.
They're a pair. It's like I don't know.
Zan and Jaina, although I know who's who, so not like that at all.
I was going to go with like I don't know, Lauren Hardy, so something really timeless. But all right.
I stepped all over that, but again, the coloring here, I think, is really doing a lot of cool work.
I will say, I feel like the more we get a farming graph, the more I'm just like, yeah, these villains are like, I kind of like the idea of what they're doing, but their designs and their attitudes kind of lame.
I hate them. Yeah, like on paper it's great, but like, the kryptonite claw.
It doesn't help that here when Superman shows up to try and intervene in this recruitment, not that Marla Moonlight was being convinced, she doesn't want anything to do with them. Superman swoops in and Graft presses a button and his wheelchair turns into like a robot spider like base, so he's into fight mode basically. And all I could think was, this is like Dr. Robotnik from a Sonic video game. Like, this is wacky shit.
Or a producer, was it John Peters?
Yes, spiders are the most dangerous animal in the kingdom.
Oh god.
Yeah. Even the dialogue here did annoy me a little bit, where as the page is turning, as he's like pressing the button, he's like, "It's been a long time since I've stepped into the arena." Then you turn the page of battle, and I'm like, "Okay, all right." Like, this is a bit on the cheesier side than I would have enjoyed. I think. I'm
like, this nerd has been on too many D&D quests. You know, like nobody talks like this. I don't know, but maybe that's the point. Maybe they're so out of touch with society. And also, out of all the designs to make, he, is not even a cool looking spider. He's got a bubble helmet going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just not feeling that. Yeah. So the book takes a weird turn here, right? So there's a bit of a fight with Superman, but basically Graft fires a beam at Marla Moonlight. She starts to light up. Superman goes to try and save her, and then she basically, in a flash of light, both her and Superman disappear. And Lex was on the comms with him, and he's like, "Wait, Superman, where are you?" And then Mercy's like, "He's gone. There's no trace of him." So what happens here at the end is we cut back to the Wild West. There's a train coming in. We see some kids on a train with an old woman. And then we get some old Western style, like, not superheroes, but like Nighthawk and Cinnamon. Which, by the way, Cinnamon, can I just say, sounds like a stripper name, okay?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but take it for...
Welcome to the stage, Cinnamon.
To be fair, Nighthawk also sounds like the, Magic Mike version. You could say,
I mean, I suppose I could see that. But they're like cowboys with masks and
these are two Hawk identities. This is Carter and Kendra, or Shayera. Wait, which one's Cinnamon? I can't keep the Hawk timelines, and it's one of the. It's either Hawk Girl or Hawk Woman.
I get that from Nighthawk. I can see where that correlation is. Yeah. Cinnamon's not telling me Hawk Girl though.
Yeah. Also, just real quick, I looked up. Before we get to this, Graf shoots the beam, and it came from the yellow kryptonite, which, according to the DC database, the yellow kryptonite destroys the ability of a Kryptonian to process the yellow sunlight. So this probably doesn't mean anything, but I thought it might be before I looked it up.
Well, I mean, he has moonlight with it, so I was thinking I was assuming that this time travel that seems to have happened is more based on moonlight's like abilities, whatever they are, because we don't really know a whole lot about her yet. So, and she,
I just thought like if it was like, go ahead.
And she does feel like she's out of the Old West. Like she's, her entire persona looks old fashioned. So it feels like this is obviously going to tie into why she is the way she is in some way.
Right. Actually, that was gold kryptonite. But I just thought like if it was like the red kryptonite, which has varying effects or whatever, that's what caused.
Doesn't gold kill him?
I think silver does. So no, gold. Gold removes their powers. Otherwise, it's not. All right. So that was gold. Someone had put the wrong thing. The yellow kryptonite is not actually, but this is weird. It wasn't actually, but it's your man robot. But yeah, so it turns out yellow's not actually there. It's gold, not yellow. But who knows when it comes to Graft and his kryptonite claws?
I'll be honest. I wasn't even thinking about this.
Well, I
would give it a second thought.
For me, if you put in the art that it's coming out of the yellow kryptonite claw, there has to be a reason. You know what I mean? But maybe not. I don't know. But yes, so on the train, Nighthawk and Cinnamon. No, clearly this is not supposed to be Metropolis, right? Like this is on a train going to Metropolis.
Possibly. I don't know if it says anything anywhere about where it is going or where they are.
Just because they are out in the Old West, like Metropolis does not like where Metropolis is on the Eastern Seaboard would not look like this hundreds of years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it says Metropolis Express, so yeah, going to Metropolis would make sense.
That's what I'm starting to. That's what I was hoping, but I did get caught up on that because they were in Metropolis and now they get transported, to wherever Nighthawk and Cinnamon are. Which you're right, I can't say that name seriously now. Can't you ruin that? Thanks, Pete.
Sounds like a stripper. I'm sorry, it does. This is like I feel like Kendra would punch you in the face if you called her Cinnamon.
Oh, 100%. Kendra and Shayera. So, let's see. I'm trying to see how she got her name. Because if she works in a brothel, I'm going to lose it. Right? But yeah, so go ahead. I'm going to look up to see where this comes from.
Basically, so there's this woman with 2 children, and she's talking about them being visionaries and inventors. So I don't know if they're trying to imply this is like the grandparents elect or something like that. Not that both would be his grand. You know what I mean? Like the one of these kids is like a Lex Luthor or ancestor or something. But anyway, basically, there's a bandit coming in, notably wearing blue and red, and he's on top of the train. Nighthawk and Cinnamon climb up. They tell him to reach for the sky, and it's clearly Superman. And he says he's robbing the train. Look, this is right. This isn't multiverse shit, right? To be fair,
it's time travel.
But I will say, I've had so much recently of characters being whisked away to another world or another time out of nowhere, and knowing Williamson, this will maybe only be like 2 issues before he's back in Metropolis in present day. But part of me goes like, okay, like we're not even going to get the reaction of him transporting. We're just skipping ahead to when he's already established himself as like a bandit in the Old West. I don't know. This just was such a left turn. Like I like the idea that Marla Moonlight inherently like it does. That's why she's not around all the time, is because maybe she is jumping backwards and forwards in time. Because she's that's maybe part of her abilities or something like that. That is an interesting thing for her character, but the way this ending sets up makes it feel like, oh, we're going to be spending like an arc in the Old West with Superman doing stuff before he gets back to present day, and maybe it'll be fun. And maybe if I hadn't just had a stupid Batman arc where he was in an alternate universe for an entire arc, maybe I'd be more lenient on this. But in the current climate, with how I currently feel, this felt like why are we doing this now?
Yes, but also Superman looks cool as hell. He's got that red poncho, the white hat. I know he's a train robber, but it's old Western rules that the white hat's the good guy, right? Like there's that. Like Redondo kills it on that art, even the hat tip up, So yes, inherently silly. and making me question what is going on. But I can't wait to see where it goes.
I feel like this run's just bouncing backwards and forwards. Every time it introduces or does something I quite like, or has some scenes that I really like, it then does something weird or something that feels rushed, like almost right after. I can't get a solid footing on it at any point, which is a shame. Yeah. It says, next time, the man of yesterday. I see what they did there.
Yep.
I see what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not angry, but I'm also not that excited for the next issue now. So I don't know what to make of it at this point. I mean, obviously, yeah, Redondo's art is very good. The layouts are excellent. But it does just make me wish he was back on Nightwing, just because I think the storytelling is it's equal there. Whereas here, I'm going, oh, this art looks good, but it's also this really lame villain graph firing a beam from his kryptonite nail that he's got in his hand, and he's on top of his robot spider, which transformed out of his wheelchair. It's just really silly stuff, and I don't know. I'm not in love with it.
Yeah, I would say I'm in love with it, but am I enjoying it? Absolutely. You know, like it's inherently silly, like I said, and you know, as long as it's still tongue in cheek and doesn't feel like it's taking it too serious. And I feel that's where the Batman stuff really failed for me, because I don't mind alternate reality stuff, but it just seemed to be taking it way too seriously. So here, and again, this is not an alternate reality. This is the past. What makes it even more murky, you know, just because Superman shouldn't be in the Old West, you know, and what's that going to mean? Because it seems like those two kids that were on the train are Graft and Farm, you know.
Is that what they're going for?
They look. That's what I think. They also like Jules and Verne from Back to the Future 3. I was getting those vibes.
I was assuming this was like Lex Luthor's great-grandfather or something. But...
No, because they're talking about the mother. Let me get my book reopened. He's got the black hair.
I mean, I believe you. I believe you that I was too busy thinking, what the hell are we doing now to pick up on that detail.
Yeah, because it says, recently my family has had quite a few troubles. Heinous bandits steal everything from us at every turn. We need protection. You see, my darling boys are young inventors, visionaries. And that might go into also with Lex. They feel like Lex stole their stuff. So that inherently that's where they go with the, you know, Lex Luthor Revenge Squad.
I assume there'll be an explanation as to why they're so old then.
Yep.
Because they'd be over 100 years old easily, based on this time period.
I mean, he's got robot spider legs. I'm sure there's you know, he's found a fountain of youth somewhere.
Dear. Yeah, it's just kind of a weird direction for me. And that's not the first time I've said that about this Williamson Superman run. So we'll see. Yeah. Like, I was just settling into, okay, the relationship between Superman and Lex is getting more interesting. This Lois stuff is really fun to watch her run the Daily Planet and be caring about Superman. Even the Lena stuff's kind of interesting in terms of like what it may be building to. And no, we can't enjoy any of that because now we have to go into the past. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. See, I thought you were going to say we have to go to the past. I was like, no, we get to go to the past. We get to go to the Old West. So, you know. Hopefully it's more like Back to the Future 3. That's what I'm just saying.
Dear. All right, what are you giving Superman issue 9?
I'm going to give this, and it's mostly on the art. I'm going to give it 7.5.
This is a 6 for me, I think. So 6 out of 10. Not terrible by any means, but yeah. All right. Man. Wonder Woman issue 4, Legacy 804. Tom King writing with Daniel Sampere on the art. Now, this is a comic book, Matt.
Yes.
It's very good.
Yes.
I mean, weirdly, I might say it's the weakest of the 4 issues so far, but that's not, you know, in any way to say this is anything less than great. It's just that the first 3 were so exceptional. Yeah,
by weakest, it's not because it feels so detached from what we have been doing. It definitely feels like the calm before the storm. It almost is like a brief interlude before things really get popping.
Yeah, because you know, it starts with news broadcasts talking about that soldier committed suicide and how that's spreading and it's turning the people against Wonder Woman. Public opinion's really down.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of this issue is, there's got two sides to it. The Wonder Woman side is that she is effectively doing like a Make-A-Wish type thing, where despite the fact that this kid's parents are kind of with the public and don't like her now anymore because of all this bad press and everything going on with the Amazons, she is there because this kid, Jack, I think his name is dying. He's got a terminal illness, and she is going to spend the day with him and take him wherever he wants to go. And he says he's Wonder Woman's biggest fan. He's got posters around and all that. And that's what that, so that plot's about that. And he wants to go to Themyscira, and she's like, "Yep, I'll take you there." It's a bit weird there right now because of all the tensions, but if that's what you want, that's what I'll do. So it makes her very endearing to the reader. Meanwhile, the Sovereign is in the president's ear, and it's all about having the president basically further this narrative with the public and get the public to turn again. And we don't get to hear what his speech is. We get little teases and glimpses of, like, a lot of it's the Sovereign saying things like, no, you keep saying Wonder Woman too much. Don't address her by name. It humanizes her. You have to demonize. You have to say she's the enemy of the people and really talk down to her. The main thing we got out of that, though, is that the president gets on his knees and kisses his ring. It's the set, because he says, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't do that." He's like, "Hey, just because I'm polite and say I suggest something does not mean it's a suggestion. It means it's an order."
He even refers to his mother as the Queen Mother, which is like a monarchy thing.
Yeah.
Right? And that to me, as a student of American history, is the complete opposite, right? So to see a president, whether whoever this is supposed to be, it's someone, like a DC creation, because you never get a clear shot on the president, right? You just see the gray hair and whatever.
I think that's by design, so it's like, it could be any president almost.
But like, just seeing a president bow down to a bigger power like that just really unnerved me. Which, like, good on you, Tom King. Like, because just the whole idea, like, you'll do what every other president has done, and that's kiss the ring. And I was like, oh no, Teddy did not kiss no ring. I'll tell you that much. So it also makes me think that the Sovereign, beyond the we know he's got the lasso of lies, right? And I'm wondering if, like, the power of persuasion and that type of stuff, that's almost like the opposite of truth. That you can convince people through these lies, and that's what he's working at here.
Oh yeah, that's what we've been talking about. I mean, that was the whole thing last issue, is he brought it out to convince the soldier to do what he was going to do. That's the entire basis of what the Sovereign are doing.
I know that, but I didn't see him have the lasso when he was talking to the president, right?
I don't think he needs it. I think they've put themselves in such a position of power. They don't have to use it with everyone,
Right. So, he's just got that skill that he's able to do all this, and it makes him feel like we always talk about the kind of lack of a rogues gallery for Diana, right? We know there's Sheeta and Veronica Cale and the gods and whatnot, but like, to have like an actual threat, I feel like it's been a minute to her.
Yeah, I mean, she does have a gallery, but yeah, it's been a while since Ed have been propped up in such a big way. I think, this issue, it spends a lot of time with Diana, sort of the idea that she's not even paying attention as her name's being sullied, as her reputation's been attacked. She's doing this nice, very selfless thing for this kid. And it's this contrast of, like, one side is scheming, and the art reflects this. A lot of that art when the Sovereign's in the Oval Office, there's a lot of low angles looking up at him, and he's this wrinkly old man. It's very evil and very kind of like, oh, he's this little devil who's
like cagey, like he's
whereas then you go to the art of the other stuff, the main story, and it's very colorful and pulpy. The red and the blues that the kids wearing are really popping. Diana's, and I think one of the things is that Diana is very apprehensive at times during this because she's but she's nervous about going to Paradise Island. She's nervous about various things. But the moment when she sees the reaction on the kid's face when she sees him for the first time, she smiles in this genuine way, and this is like a real credit to the art, where you really get at that moment all those worries fade away, and she's just delighted that she's means something to this kid and that she's making this kid's day. So yeah, all that stuff, taking him on the visible jet, going to the island, spending the day sort of teaching him about Themyscira and stuff. And then even the bitter end where he's like, oh, I wish this could be, more. And he's sad because, and he even says, I know I'm dying. I know that's what's happening. And she just gave him one nice day. And that was more important than, paying attention to all this other shit that's going on. So, it's very much like you say, it's a more downbeat issue, whereas the first three issues all feel like it's big things were happening.
Yeah.
This is more the rumblings in between as it's building up to the next thing. But I love some of the art stuff they did here where you see like the blurry reflection of the president in the camera lens when they're filming this interview or this statement to the press. And you don't get to see, again, what he says. You just get these little indications. And then later on, towards the end of the book, there's sort of mirroring that. There's a close-up panel of the Sovereign's kind of like eye, and you can see that same blurry reflection of the president on his glasses. But he, obviously you can see his eye because he's sort of looking down over them in that kind of peering way, like, we're keeping an eye on you kind of thing.
Yep.
It's very good.
Well, and it does this thing with the balance of it. Like, through this we've had the dialogue boxes have been the Sovereign, right? They've been in blue. But here, as people are reacting to the president's speech, it's Diana's, she's talking to the kid, on Themyscira. And we're getting, so it's almost like a balance of, this is what's going on in her head while all this other stuff is going on. And it's almost like a counter. And this is why she is who she is. And I really like that. Again, that's King working with the artist, like, flawlessly.
Well, I'm just checking. So you're saying it switches to her narration at that point in the book?
Yeah, so you go and she's with the kid and he's crying because he feels like there's something wrong because all the people, he should like Superman or Batman, but he doesn't. He loves Wonder Woman, and is it because he's sick, like, inside? And she goes, "Oh no, there's nothing wrong with you."
Oh no, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that the blue narration box, he's never stopped being the Sovereign. It's always him when it's those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. You just mean she sort of speaks her mind finally, so you get to hear more what she's thinking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. While all of this other stuff is going on, where we don't get to see what the president's saying because we're in Diana's, and what she's talking about is kind of addressing all of this. Like how she thinks they're, I think they're fools, like the gods, all their pomp and thunder. And then it's Steve, because he's gotten into a fight with other people about Diana. Yeah, he's in the brig.
They're bad-mouthing her, and they're saying that she cut off his dick, effectively.
Yep.
And even though Steve's warned that if he does anything else, he'll go straight to the brig, he punches the dude in the face. It's very satisfying, to be honest. It's a good little moment. But yeah, it's very much this again. Obviously, the story that is propagating is this idea that this is emasculating the men, so therefore we should all rise up against Wonder Woman and the Amazons. We have to fight back against this example of a strong woman. So it's definitely feeding into all that sort of the misogynistic propaganda that they've been kind of spreading, and the Sovereign's been talking about since the start. But again, I think it's interesting now that we're in issue 4 that. Clearly, as we've been going on, it's been more and more overt where in the narration with and it's the Sovereign talking to her daughter in the future, now he's saying things like, "Oh, your mother did this." Like he's directly referencing that now. It's not as much of a secret anymore. Right. So we're getting a lot more direct calls to the context of all this. In fact, the issue even ends with a little tease where the Jack, the kid, says, "You'd make a good mother someday." And she's like, "Oh, can you imagine me a mother?" Oh no, that'd be what child deserves.
That fate.
Yeah.
Does any child deserve that fate? And it's very funny, tongue in cheek, but because I was thinking the same thing. The way she is with this kid, right?
It's also kind of ominous, though, right? Like, because it makes you think of like, okay. Obviously, we're seeing these backup stories where it seems like she has a decent childhood, but it's also kind of almost like, well, she ends up in like a jail cell with the Sovereign at some point. So maybe there is some bad stories ahead for for Trinity.
Yeah, I just think the fact is I don't think like Diana, because there's another part in here where they, Philippus is left in charge because Nubia's out dealing with the Amazon attacks story, right? And Hippolyta is ascended to godhood. She's the goddess of the Amazonians now. So Philippus is in charge, and when they're like, oh, Diana's brought a young boy to the island, what are we going to do? And Philippus is like, look, all the Queen of the Amazons has known, like, yes, we lead our people and our people listen, but when it comes to Diana, we just let her do what she needs to do, and it's just almost like this respect for her. It says she does not, despite her hallowed power and duty, ever rule Diana. So, like, the Queen of the Amazons has a lot of power, but when it comes to Diana, Diana's going to do what she wants.
Yeah.
And she's earned that. It's not like she's being insolent or going out of her way. It's, just let her cook, if you will. And then that also leads to a great page that I just want to highlight of their day on the island, right? And they're sword fighting. They're riding Jumpa. He gets to throw the tiara. She's doing push-ups with him on her back.
Yeah, you mentioned the exchange a little bit earlier, but I want to just go back to it a little bit, which is the exchange where he's basically saying, is there something wrong with me because I'm a boy, I'm supposed to like Superman or Batman? And she hugs him and says there's nothing wrong with him. I think that's incredibly a sweet little poignant thing, this idea that he is looked upon like a weirdo because he's not conforming to the things that he's expected to like. He's a young boy who for whatever reason he's attracted to Wonder Woman, and not in like a physical attraction way, but he's attracted to her for whatever reason, more than the other heroes. And that's okay, and it makes you it makes you think of those like crazy stories of like dads getting really weird because their kid likes a Barbie or something like that. It's like, oh no, why is my son playing with a doll? Oh no, like it kind of makes you think of that a little bit, and it sort of ties into that. And
it's true that if you treat both, with respect, it doesn't matter. The kid likes what a kid likes. A toy is a toy at the end of the day. The adults are the ones that determine if it's a boy's toy or a girl's toy.
Yeah, well, that's the sad part of that question though that he asks is the idea that he's feeling guilty because he knows his parents don't like that he likes Wonder Woman. So you can make that an allegory for all sorts of things, for being gay, for being whatever. Like you can say that represents so many different things. So it's really sad that this kid's having to question, like, is there something wrong with them just because he likes something, he likes someone, that's right. It's wild. Like it's like he's been punished for looking up to a strong female figure. It's wild.
Well, and just the idea that, like, is he sick, and not just with his sickness, right? He's visioning. He's picturing this as that there's inherently something wrong that needs to be fixed. When really it's just like, no, he likes Wonder Woman. And as we've seen from that soldier, what led to him getting the lasso of lies is like, she's on the Justice League, man. Like, she's a hero just like Superman and Batman. There's no shame in getting our butts kicked by her, So it's that kind of healthy take on her. That's what this kid already has,
That's the point of that whole thing, is that soldier, he needed to break out the lasso of lies because, this soldier actually has, like, ideals. He actually has a healthy view on things. It's almost that thing where we'll scare people into believing the right things, and for those in society who are a bit too strong in their morals or their beliefs, or have too much of a strong idea of what they believe in, that's when we break out the cheat code. We break out the lasso. So, and I think that's why the lasso of lies was nowhere in the White House. He didn't need it because this is clearly something the presidents, when they're sworn in, like, they find out that we work for the sovereign. Like, this is just part of the system.
And again, this is where I'll give King credit, is like, I want her to smash this dude so much. Like, especially after this issue where we see, her spending her day. Like, she has all the stuff that she has to worry about, but she's taking time out of her day to give this little boy his dream, And I think, too, the fact that it is a boy and that she bends the rules to get him to Paradise Island, because he even feels kind of sheepish asking to go, and she's like, "No, I'm Wonder Woman. We're gonna go if you want to go."
Yeah, he's worried that he doesn't have the right to ask that. Like, he doesn't belong there, kind of thing.
And
it's very innocent. In fact, one of the news reports things earlier on, there's like a quote from like a senator or something saying, "Make no mistake, that suicide was Wonder Woman's fault. She was in that room. She pulled the trigger." And it's wild to read that this week because, not to depress you, Matt, but I don't know if you heard, what was his name? Oh, I'm forgetting his first name. The guy who played Jonathan Kent on Smallville.
Yeah, he's a moron.
Yeah, well, but let me explain to the audience what I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
He, on a celebrity game show, called for the execution of the president because he sees him as a traitor, right? And it's that type of language that reminded me of, is like this senator saying, "Oh, she was in the room, she pulled the trigger." No, she wasn't. Like, that's not how this works.
Well, so was it on the game show he did that? Because I saw that it was on Twitter. Because I saw it because Gail Simone commented on it.
No, he said it. It was the end of the Masked Singer or whatever show he was on.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Time and a place, bro. And he used to be my favorite Pa Kent. Like, I liked him. For all the flaws of that show, it was never because of Pa Kent.
Yeah, no, I'm using it as an example here. I'm not talking about that specifically, but it's just that type of like
brain poisoning.
I want to say hyperbole, but it doesn't feel right either. But you get the point I'm making here. It's this idea of pushing this narrative that you believe in so vividly, by just saying things very extremely in a way. I just it's going for shock value. It's going for trying to garner support in these wild ways. So I don't know. It reminded me a lot of that when I read that particular panel.
It was that was kind of there too, reading, because this was the last thing I read this week. I kind of built up to Wonder Woman, and yeah, it does. And again, King is in the DC, like, not the circles, but he lives in DC, right? He's kind of at the forefront of all the stuff, So he's, I think, a little bit tuned into it more than most people. So it doesn't surprise me that a celebrity saying something stupid lines up with the week that Wonder Woman comes out, But yeah.
I mean, there's an example every other week, really. That just happens to be one that's more DC Comics related because the actor happened to be known for a DC Comics show.
Yeah. For sure.
So, but, yeah.
Also got Cheetah. I'm wondering how she's gonna factor into this. She's sitting there listening because, we all know her complex relationship with Diana and the Amazons. So I thought that was a curious beat to pop that up.
Yeah, specifically, she's listening to the speech the president's making.
I'm trying to think if we've left anything else out. I don't think. I mean, they meet. Waller meets with what's his name, Sergeant Steele, and she kind of. What does she do here? Talking about. I'm trying to just go over this page. Stop asking questions.
I could tell you if you want. We don't have to.
Yeah, go ahead. I just had to get the coverage. Sorry.
Basically, she's like, "Oh, bring in a bunch of powered people, not superheroes." Sorry. She's building. I don't know if it's a Suicide Squad specifically, but she's saying, I think she basically makes a comment about a bunch of different. So she alludes to a bunch of characters that I'm sure some people have sat and thought about and figured out who they all are. But it's like, bring the Doctor, bring the whatever. So basically, Steele's going to have a team of villains, presumably, to try and help fight Wonder Woman.
Well, that's what it made me wonder, because he says, and the big cat, too. So I'm wondering if that's where she's coming in, with Cheetah.
Yeah, not very possibly. No, a very good issue. It may be the weakest of the four, but only because, by its nature, it's not as big and exciting an issue, but it does set the stage quite a bit. And the fact that we're seeing Wonder Woman do this kind thing over the course of the issue, when the B plot is just trying to demonize her in every way possible. What was that, Matt?
So I was answering a thing and my phone went rogue. So I was just checking a text, and
Yeah.
So
the backup is more of young Trinity with the boys.
Damien and yep.
Yeah, and the complaint of them, like, particularly Damien, being too young in this, given the age that Trinity is, still tracks. But
I'm wondering if there's something up to it though, because she's meant to be 13 here, right? And John and Damien don't look much older than the last time we saw them. Like, so I'm wondering if there's some Amazonian timey, agey shenanigans at play here.
It's possible, but like even if she's like born from clay, like I mean, maybe she could start off at like 10 years old or something. I don't know, but it still feels a bit weird.
Know. Yeah, no, it does. It absolutely feels weird, but I'm feeling like there's, I don't know. After the outcry last month, because that was along the same lines of Damien looking so young, and is it the same artist? Was it Ortega? Last time as well?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
So I can look real quick. But yeah, this one is they're at the Fortress of Solitude. Justice League's in another dimension, doing Justice League stuff. And Trinity, or Lizzie, gets into Black Mercy, which I thought was really funny. It's almost like getting into the, trying to think of something like the tool chest. You're not supposed to be playing with that stuff. And just the interplay here between Damien and John, I thought was really spot on. They keep telling each other when this is over, I'm going to kill you. In a way that only best friends can talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically she's in a Black Mercy dream, and she's at like a Coliseum style thing in Themyscira, and there's representations of John and Damien fighting on the battlefield. Which it's basically just her imagining that she's like the queen in charge, and they're just fighting under her rule, kind of thing. But ultimately, they pull the Black Mercy off of her, and that's basically it. That's the story.
Well, and like it doesn't sit right with her that she was beating them, because those are her brothers. Like, she has nothing but the most respect for them, which I thought was a nice little twist of that Black Mercy story, right? Because in the Black Mercy story, it's Black Mercy giving you what you want to, feel and see, while it overtakes your whole body. And so for the fact, like, she's like not even sure that's what she wants, right? So I like that little wrinkle there. Yeah, it was the same artist last time. So it was Bell and Ortega. So maybe that's just the art style. I'm not sure, but it is a bit distracting. Damien looking like he's 12 still, when she's supposed to be 13.
Yeah, that's just a bit weird. Yeah, I think the backup's fine. Like, I don't think it was as good as last time's backup, but it's it's building up this idea of the relationship between the kids. So we'll see where it goes, and maybe we'll get some answers as to how the ages line up down the line. But yeah, I think main stories though very, very good. The run continues to be very strong, even if this was the quieter issue of the bunch for me. But what are you rating Wonder Woman issue 4, Matt?
I'm gonna give this a solid 8.
I'm happy to go with the 8.5.
Okay.
I still think it's maybe a bit above that level, but yeah, that's Wonder Woman issue 4. Nightwing 109 Legacy 296, Tom Taylor writing with Stephen Byrne on the art. So we had the last issue end with Bia, is her name?
B, yeah.
Or just B. Getting shot and falling into the water. Nightwing, start of this issue, dives in after her, has his moment of hesitation, but he's able to overcome it and dive in and get her. We get a little flashback to when Alfred tried to train him to basically, not first aid per se, but
like a field medic, right? Like emergency.
More extreme, more extreme than first aid. He's got a dead pig that he's going to try and teach him to like sew wounds up in and things like that. And he's not really excited about the prospect, but Alfred's like, no, someone needs to be able to do this. And he's like, yeah, but you'll always be here. So, Taylor's still pulling at those Alfred heartstrings.
That line just got me. Because, you'll be here. And then just knowing, that he's been gone, but that Dick has taken up that, the Alfred kind of vibe. It is nice. It's bittersweet.
So that sets up that he knows how to patch up a wound, and we come back, and he's done that for B. She's shouldn't be up and walking around, but she does it anyway. And they basically just have to go after her brother. But the big thing here, honestly, because the actual resolution to the present day action is pretty straightforward. They come and they fight him, and they win. There's some big pages of Nightwing jumping down like a pirate and all the rest of it. The big thing here was more the flashback story to me, which was the explanation of how basically before this was Bloodhaven, when this was just New Netherlands, I think
New Netherlands.
This basically became a haven led by a Captain Blood, hence the name Bloodhaven. And there was a giant monster that this captain fought because it was basically destroying all the ships that were coming in, and it was destroying the trade system and all that. So this captain killed the monster, this big looking, eldritch
Kraken
looking thing, and then we get a little bit of her backstory, how she became, she was stealing a boat and she got recruited afterwards. For me, that was the most interesting part of the issue. I was like them adding this bit of lore to Bloodhaven history.
Yeah, I like that. And also with her stealing the super yacht, and she was 13 and made it to the Caribbean, and that's why he adopted her. He's like, she sought him out, and it's kind of the comparison to Jason Todd I thought was funny.
Yeah. Also, does this mean that giant? I mean, because I think we just assumed it was a whale, but is it a chance that skeleton that was in the hold before might actually be the skeleton of this thing? Yeah.
I mean, if it's a cephalopod, it's not going to have a skeleton, but I mean, we can, it's a sea monster. Who knows?
Whatever. It's not a real creature. We can
I know, but I still like creatures to have, unless they are an alien being. I like them to follow biology rules. But just the idea of the keep being an actual ship, right? I thought that was still pretty cool. It's an actual ship that can be sailed out of there. And that's where they come to, what's his name? The captain's kid, her brother, comes there to do it, only to be defeated because of pirate. Like they find she's still the captain, right? Like they still serve her. Which I like. So
that was a very confusing way you said all that. But yes.
I'm sorry because I'm going through the issue as we're going to refresh. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think I followed, but yeah, the Nightwing and B take him on, and we get a big page of Nightwing. Like that thing, and this is something Redondo did and has been continuing in the book, which is the full page where we see the whole fight play out and like all the different sort of stages of the fight. It's not different panels, it's just all one big splash, but you see all the different versions of Nightwing and all the different moves, and he's coming down from the top of the ship and then kicking someone overboard at the bottom. It's very fun sequencing. And of course, B shows up with all of her pirates that she's broken out of the jail cell that we've been held in. But really, the big thing at the end is we finally get what was in the box, and what was the left there for Nightwing, and it turns out to be a CD-ROM, which is a bit of a blast from the past, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
But it's security footage, and I guess this makes sense that it's old tech because this is from when Dick was a kid. But it's basically the security camera footage from the night his parents died, and it's proving that Zuko was there. We see him coming out of the tent, and it's like proof. Like they've kind of known who it was for a long time, but this is finally some proof. So that's what comes up.
And it would make sense that that's why he would want it, right? Because Zuko, that's what kicked us all off, right? Zuko went to go to the hold because Heartless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that checks out. But yeah, I hope B, not that she sticks around, but I like her as a supporting character for Dick because he's constantly talking about how bad he feels about how the relationship went, you know? So just the idea that, you know, this is just another network that he's made, you know, because as we've seen, that's the one thing that Dick Grayson has that has outshined Bruce is his ability to have friends, you know, and it's just the fact that this person, like, now, not that they're even, but she even tells him at the end, like, you know, but if you and your friends find them before we do, make them pay, you know, talking about Heartless. And then he puts his domino mask back on at the end. And I really like that sentiment at play for Dick.
Yeah, I mean, I think this pirate bit's been my least favorite part of the run. I'm not really that fussed about any of it popping up again. I'm sure it will, and it'll feel satisfying that it does because it's part of what the run's built up. But I could take or leave seeing B again, to be honest. I think it's, you know, it was mostly tied into an era of Dick that I didn't want to read. She even calls him Rick at one point in this issue, which it makes sense coming from her because that's what she knew him as. But I would rather just forget that entire time period happened, frankly. So I'm not that fussed about any of that. I mean, I think it's a well told enough comic book. I like the history for Bloodhaven, and I'm curious to see what they do with this Zuko stuff going forward now. But I'm glad that we're done with this. It was kind of and it wasn't that long a tangent. It was, you know, 3 or 4 issues. But I'm glad that we're done with it now, and we can go back to the main story and get into more Heartless stuff and stuff in the city. So I'm glad this bit's done. Yeah, no, I think it's funny too. This is shortly after we followed Dick Grayson to hell, right, to get the soul of that girl. Now he's been a pirate. So Taylor's doing some unconventional storytelling, you know, while also still maintaining, you know, what makes Dick Grayson work. So I applaud him for that one. But yeah, I'm not like, I didn't dislike the pirate stuff as much as you did. But I am glad to get on to, you know, back to the Heartless stuff, back to his sister. I think dislike's a strong word. I wouldn't say I disliked it. I just don't. I easily liked it less than anything else in the run.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know how else to put that. You know, in an easier way.
So, yeah, like you know, I'm good. We can leave all this stuff behind now. I'm fine with that. Backup is it something I read? Oh, I think did I? No, I think it did. Yes, it's Beast World stuff.
This is the Damien Beast World stuff.
Yeah. Where he almost gets infected. He's at the zoo. He turns into a cat at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, but it also introduces this new character, the green. What's her name? Ava something. My name's not important, but I remember Tom Taylor talking about this is her first appearance. And she's going to be in play in the Nightwing book during Beast World. But she's green like Gar, which is very curious. Just because because he gets his powers, remind me, right? That it was like a blood transfusion gone wrong. And he ended up with the ability to change. And that's why he's green.
That sounds familiar, but to be honest, I don't really remember.
So just the idea that there's, you know, there might be another one, but she doesn't seem like to be able to change. So I'm not sure. She's bright green. She has a bunch of animal tattoos. And yeah, so kind of, I don't want to say not a nothing story, but,
there's just not much. Yeah. There's just not much to it, to be honest. And you say she doesn't seem to be able to change, but I don't think there's anything that tells us that one way or the other. She's only on like one page.
No, that's what I mean. It's not like, because I said she's green like Beast Boy, so I'm assuming a similar set of powers. I could be completely off.
But I mean, the green may also have nothing to do with Beast Boy.
I know, but I just, you know, I don't know. It's just, I feel one of those things like, if she's green, if she's surrounded by animals, it's not an accident to make us think of Beast Boy.
No, right? I mean, the tattoos of the animals are the only thing that makes me think she's related to Beast, though. Like, there's nothing else really. Right. You know, because there's tons of green characters in comics. Like, you know, they're not all Beast Boy related.
Yeah, but they're either Green Lantern or Swamp Thing, right? And with the green, like they tend to group similar character designs together.
I don't know. Martian Manhunter's green. He's got nothing to do with any of these characters.
Because he's an alien, though, and he's a shapeshifter. So green shapeshifter is still Beast Boy. I don't make the rules. I just point them out.
That's got nothing to do with Beast Boy. Shut up. That's not parallel. No.
Yeah, I know it's Ava something. I just remember. I remember Tom Taylor talking her up on Twitter. So
I mean, she might be a great character. But there's nothing to go on yet. She's on one page. There's very little to do. The only thing we get here is that she puts the spore in Robin's mouth.
Yeah, she seems, because what he finds is like the spores aren't going all over Gotham like they are everywhere else. It's almost like Gotham's too quiet. So it almost seems too like she has some kind of way of manipulating the spores. Because she's holding one, and she's the one that puts it towards Damian.
At the very least, it's like she's attracting them to her location. So instead of it spreading throughout the city, they're all kind of congregating in the zoo,
old zoo,
which is where this story's set, I should say. So yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, it's whatever. All right, what are you rating Nightwing?
I'm gonna give this I'll give this an 8.
Yeah, 7 for me. It's good. It's well told. But I'm glad that this part of the story's done. So there you go. Green Lantern War Journal issue 4. Philip Kennedy Johnson writing with Montos on the art. So last issue, John Stewart got infected by the Radiant Dead. Is that what they were called? I always question if I'm getting it right.
And it's the Revenant Queen, the Radiant Dead.
Revenant Queen, Radiant Dead. So this issue starts off actually on the planet Durla, because this relates to the Green Lantern. Not the one from the other universe. This is the one that, Varen, yeah. The one who came down, trash-talked John Stewart a bit, and then got infected in issue 2. Or the end of issue 1, whenever that happened. So this basically is like this Durlan asshole who's a politician who's making this deal with this woman and saying he's thankful to give a home to all these refugees from this other planet. But it's just all publicity, and he's a complete monster when he starts talking to his peers, like behind their backs, and then even drops the baby he was holding for a photo shoot. So they set up that he's this evil character, and they're basically there to tell him, hey, that Varen asshole, he's on Earth behind the blockade where he's not meant to be, and he's like, shit, like that's like one of our biggest, we control part of our entire empire because he's the nephew of this other important dude, right?
It definitely reeks like, now that the United Planets are in charge of the Green Lantern Corps, the rings aren't necessarily going to, the ones that what is it? You have the power. You have great willpower? I forget the full thing.
Well,
it's not going to them.
Forget the specifics. The people in charge now are picking who the rings are going to. It's going to people via nepotism or via politicking, that kind of things. That's clearly the implication here. Is that this by all accounts, Varen sounds like he's a trust fund kid who's been handed a Green Lantern ring. And given this important position because of who his dad is.
Checks out what happened to him, right?
Oh, yeah. For sure. So that sets up this. It sets up that. So we've got this other player now from the planet Durla who's going to get involved and possibly come and deal with it. And this is actually some of the best art here. The final panel of him before it goes to the other part of the story is him just with his hand up to his chin, and he's making kind of a inquisitive face. He's like, if he's alive, we'll have earned his father's gratitude. If he's not, we find someone to blame. So they're coming to find Varen, and that's another problem been introduced into the mix. I actually quite like this. I think it's interesting because it's hinting at the politics and the United Planets are controlling the Green Lantern Corps right now. The idea that they're corrupting it and doing shady things with it based on their own wants and needs is very interesting. And seems like a political topic that Johnson would probably want to sink his teeth into. So that makes a lot of sense. Well,
and it also feels like there's some more worldy stuff going on there too. With the type, we had the one guy that left Warworld. I forget the character's name. He was the one that was the parent figure to the twins before Clark.
The Kryptonian.
Yeah. And him going back to the United Planets and, puppeteering certain things. That's there. So what do you know about the Durlan race, Pete?
I feel put on the spot here. Not that much.
Yeah. So they're in the future, in the Legion, that is Chameleon Boy's species. And RJ Brand, who's the
Of course I don't know this. What were you expecting from me? Oh, Chameleon Boy from the Legion.
I'm just saying, they showed up on Young Justice. I know you've seen Young Justice, so I thought maybe it would ring a bell.
True. It's been a while. I've forgotten most of what I saw in that now, though. But yes, fair enough.
These are because I was like, Durlans, shouldn't these guys be shapeshifters? Like, that would be... But apparently these are the orange skin Durlan subgroup. And they're their own, like, they were bottled by Brainiac. And so they're almost kind of like the Kandorians of Krypton to the Durlans that shape change. So I'm not too sure if they can shape change, and maybe that's why, they have such a different, like almost a different society than the Durlans that we have been familiar with. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting to make them Durlans, and I'm sure that Johnson has a reason for it. But seeing their kind of grimy society as it is, at least this one guy, I thought was a nice story plot.
Yeah, and then we go to basically inside John's head. They're doing like they're in his head trying to like fight off the Radiant Dead infection. So in this case, like he's literally making constructs and trying to fight it off inside his brain. And some of this art here is pretty good. This idea that he's making a whole army of green constructs to try and fight this thing inside his head. But the idea being that it's not working very well, and the Green Lantern here is like Shepard, his name is. He's like, this is the one that's from the other Earth, just in case anyone's forgotten all this stuff. But he is like, this is a lost cause. You're going to turn. We have to just like take care of you, because if John Stewart turns, the entire universe is doomed. And he's like, no, we can still fight this. And this is where the subject of the lantern rings comes up, because when a lantern's turned, the ring also dies, right? The ring is taken from the grid. It's not part of the system anymore. It's not connected to the battery. It won't find a new host. So, which makes it almost kind of a darker thing even that this is happening, because it stops the chain of the ring going to find someone. But John's like, wait, have you got one of the rings of those lanterns that the Radiant Dead were wearing? And he's like, yeah, I've got one here. I was going to burn it. He's like, no, we can do something with that. So they go back to Steelworks, and he's talking to John Henry about, okay, can we, connect this to an energy source? Particularly here, they're talking about using the Genesis fragment to power it. And they're like, okay, can we do something with this? And John Stewart starts turning, right? The Radiant Dead spreading all up his side and his face and all that. So he's starting to turn. Shepard's ready to just kill him because like this is too dangerous. And this is where the Genesis energy hits the ring. It basically, John Stewart goes to grab it and touch it as he's turning into a zombie. And we go back inside his main place, or the main place of the ring, or the Radiant Dead main place, wherever this abstract place is. And he's wearing the ring, and basically by connecting to the ring, like he's connected to the Radiant Dead, because effectively what he's seeing is that the shared network of the Radiant Dead inside this place. And we get a lot of nice art here as it's showing that. But when he comes back, he fights the whatever monster it is that's in here. This is the... It's not the Queen, but it's like the... It's like the...
it is Varen.
It's Varen, yeah.
Varen finds him, and he's like all tentacly, so it's not like, the Varen that we've seen. He's a little bit off.
Because it's not literally him. It's not the physical him. It's, this is inside the network, if you will. So John Stewart sort of stands off against him, and when he comes back out into the real world, the green smoke clears, and for the first time in this series, he's wearing his Green Lantern outfit, with a few updates. It's got a couple of little design touches on it. There's like a sort of black line going through it, but it's, it's this, the John Stewart look, and it's like, oh shit, he's got a ring again, and it's this ring that he's sort of rehabilitated from the Radiant Dead. So it ends in kind of this triumphant moment, this grateful praise spread of him holding his hand up and the green lightning coming from him. So yeah, I mean this is the issue of how he kind of becomes a Green Lantern again almost. Obviously he did have Lantern powers before without a ring, but this is him. It's kind of a neat idea that he takes a ring that was written off as a lost cause, and he's like, no, it's not a lost cause. I can fix this. I can rehabilitate it, and that's what he's done.
We have the technology. We can rebuild him. To borrow from $6 Million Man. What I do like here is
show your age there with that reference a bit, Matt.
Yeah. That's fun. So I like the dynamic between Steel and him, because when they're looking over the Genesis fragment and Steel's just like, this thing, it's like technology, but the technology is so like advanced that it taps into your emotional state and philosophical beliefs and the circuitry. So, it's almost like it's magic. And so John's like, so you think we can, fix it? And and just the look that John Henry gives him is like, oh no, we're going to do it. I thought that was a nice, moment of levity, and in some of the story that's gotten pretty dark. And then just just the idea that John's able, without the ring, to harness green energy to like create a doppelganger of his sister, right? For his mom. Now that he has his ring, like we're approaching like Hal Jordan levels of willpower, right? And I think that's really cool for John Stewart as the whole, like giving him the name of like the master builder and that type of stuff, because you get that from Shepard, just referring to him as his names in the other place. Like it gives John this bigger significance. And I like that Johnson's doing that, because it's similar to kind of what he did with Superman in Warworld, right? He started like, he's this familiar concept of a character that we know and love, and he's just building on it and bringing out these aspects that were already there. It's just what Johnson's choosing to spotlight, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's I think the idea that the idea that this ring even has green energy now is probably coming more from John than it is like, he's getting power from the Genesis stuff, but I feel like the fact that it's the green willpower is probably coming from him, because he already had that in him. He naturally was outputting that. But the big thing here at the end, though, is that because this ring was connected to the Radiant Dead, there's still a connection to it. So he's like, okay, let's go and find them. Like, I can track them now because we're connected to them. So maybe there'll be consequences to that down the line. We'll see. But I could see some potential there. I think it's interesting, though, because it feels like, okay, well, we've solved this issue of John turning, and the fact that he was able to overcome it maybe then suggests, can we teach other Lanterns to overcome it? Is that something we can do? Because that's the thing, that the Radiant Dead specifically targets Green Lanterns. It specifically targets... now, that's not to say that it can't target other Lanterns as well, but certainly what we know so far is that it targets Green Lanterns. Maybe there's an interesting... Maybe there's an interesting pivot at some point where it does target a different color, and maybe there's different effects because it is a Red Lantern or a yellow or a whatever. So
or maybe whatever causes the Radiant Dead only works when it's based off of willpower, right? So that's why they go after Green Lanterns, or maybe it's personal to the Queen, right? There's a reason she's only going after Green Lanterns. There's all play, but I also like when he's in that mind space of the Radiant Dead, and he's talking to Varen. And he's like, you were never cut out for this. You're a killer, maybe, but you're not a fighter. And you were never a Green Lantern. I thought that was such a good moment. Because especially finding out from the early part, like, he was a nepotism hire, right? Like, he was never cut out to be a Green Lantern. So it's almost like they've created a perfect storm for the Radiant Dead to take over the Corps. Because there's these so many, Varen can't be the only one that's like that, right?
Yeah, you'd assume not, yeah.
So... it's almost like you have these people that aren't ready for the responsibility of being a Green Lantern, and it's created a perfect storm now that that John Stewart and Lantern Shepard and his little crew he's assembled here has to push back against. And I just like this as a kind of a reset for the Green Lantern mythos too, because if the power's coming directly from John or from Hal, like we're reading in Green Lantern, That's kind of Torchbearer Kyle Rayner type of stuff too.
Well, actually,
right?
I was thinking about it. Like, what if the reason why... Because both Hal and John, to some extent, were having powers without having proper rings. Like, I know Hal kind of made his own ring. John just flat out didn't have a ring. I mean, what if the idea is... And I don't know if they're going this way, but what if the idea is that now the United Planets are in charge and they're just handing out rings to whoever they choose? What if the idea here is that the battery itself is still connecting to the people who are actually, like, supposed to have the rings because they're actually connected because they're the right people for the job? And that's why some of our classic lanterns are still finding they have connections to the power, even if they technically shouldn't have because they don't have the rings. It makes me wonder if we do eventually bring in some of the others and see if they still have connections to the green willpower energy. You know? I can see them doing something with that.
Well, because that makes sense, because again, that's where I was getting with the Kyle Rayner Torchbearer stuff, right? When, like, he was the only Green Lantern and all the, you know, all the green willpower energy lied within him, you know, and he had to go help restart the Corps. That was that first miniseries, right? It was Recharge. You know, it was kind of similar to the vibe of John Stewart here. So I just like also how it's redefining Green Lantern, but also playing off of not things that we've seen before, but stuff that's a little bit familiar. And it's a real fun read too. The art here, just the coloring with the purple and the green, like they complement each other so well. Like this page with when John's in that hive mind of the Radiant Dead, and he has like the only green energy there, and he just sticks out. It looks really good. And then the green energy here too at the last two pages that culminates with the Let's Go Hunting. Just it's so bright and vivid, and you know it makes it feel like it's coming off the page, like it's actual energy. So I give this artistic team credit too.
Yeah, well, they've made this choice to have it be mostly white light with a green outline. This idea it's so bright in the middle that the color stops being even perceptible. That makes it feel really bright. I love the art in the opening scene, actually. I think all the stuff with the politician on the planet, I feel like all of that stuff where the expressions are so good. And obviously it's a very alien face, but obviously the humanoid features of it really sing and tell the story of how much of a seedy little bastard he is. Makes you want to see him get comeuppance quite quickly. So, yeah, no, very good. What are you rating War Journal issue 4?
I'm going to an 8.5.
Yeah, I think I'm 8.5 on this as well. It's very good. Yeah, Johnson is not disappointing. I'm glad this is going, at least since his Action Comics run's coming to an end, seemingly.
I know. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
All right. Batman Superman World's Finest 22, Mark Waid writing with Dan Mora on the art. Last issue, of course, our pair were in this alternate Earth, the Kingdom Come universe, and David, or Thunderman as he was going by, basically says they're lying and that they're evil imposters. So that world, Superman and Batman fought them a little bit, then their Justice League came after them, and that's kind of where we picked this issue up, is that we get them fighting the Justice League, including some people that are kind of new, that aren't doppelgangers of anyone that they know. Batman points that out. There's a few things to talk about in this issue. I think the big thing is we get a lot more context for Gog. We get, when Batman and Superman are eventually captured by the Justice League and they're thrown in some cells, they're in the same cell as Metron, and it seems that Gog's using Metron's chair, and that Metron tells the story of who Gog is, and that he comes from before, the gods that were. Before the new gods, there was Gog and the others around him. And the creation of Apocalypse and New Genesis. That all comes from after his time, or during his time even. And then Gog kind of ended up landing on prehistoric Earth and grew up during that, befriended Metron, but then eventually stole Metron's chair and has been plotting... Because it was basically when Metron showed him the multiverse existed, that really, he just thought about that for about 10,000 years until he finally decided what he wanted to do. So it turns out what he's doing is that he's been building up the heroes on this Earth to build an army to eventually go and do the Ascension. What is the Ascension? The Ascension is to kill Darkseid and take Apocalypse. But the big thing at the end is that he intends this to be a suicide mission. He wants all of the heroes to die, as well as all of Apocalypse. So that's his big master plan, and he's coaxing David into all of it. Now, honestly, the biggest surprise for me was David actually being regretful this issue. He admits to Gog, oh yeah, I'm lying to everyone about this Batman and Superman, and Gog's like, no, it must be done, my child, kind of thing. So I was surprised by that, because I thought he was just being evil, but he's not fully evil yet. I mean, he becomes Magog in this issue. He gets the outfit, he gets the horns and all that, but...
He becomes that ends justifies the means kind of guy, right? So, he doesn't want to lie to everybody, but he trusts in Gog. And I think that's also knowing what Magog stood for in the original Kingdom Come, kind of those grim and gritty 90s heroes, you know what I mean? That's what Waid was basing them off of. So to have him here but be almost kind of regretful about, that too, I think is a curious piece of storytelling. The whole thing with Gog and his origin, knowing what I know about the Fourth World and Jack Kirby and what he based all that on, and the whole idea that there was the Third World, and that was kind of what we think of as of like the mythologies, right? So you see, it's almost Norse in the art that you see. Like this character almost looks like Thor. He's got the hammer, and they talk about Valhalla. It was what was called Urgrund. They were the then gods of the Third World. And then when that got destroyed, so if you know anything about Norse mythology, the whole Ragnarok, the entire story starts again. Only this time there was 2 planets now, and that's where we get New Genesis and Apocalypse. And just the idea of Waid playing in that Kirby sandbox to go into the reason that Darkseid always wants to take out Earth is because the Earth is meant to become the Fifth World, right? And that they're almost a threat to what he wants to do in finding the anti-life. So just the idea that Gog's going to take these people, from this Earth and attack Darkseid, just playing into that whole entire mythos, I think is really fun storytelling. And again, it's continuing Kingdom Come in a satisfying way, because it's Waid commenting on comics almost as a whole,
Yeah, although it's not continuing, technically it's a prelude to Kingdom Come.
Yeah, but yes. So, yeah. Sequel's a wrong word for it. It's I guess you say like a spiritual successor, right? And that, so, because it's playing with a lot of those same themes of what legacy is, and like who, when our heroes fall, right, who's left, and here it's like, well, yeah, if Gog's leading the suicide mission on Apocalypse, is that just going to leave him, right? Because is he in the final art of that? No, because it's Magog. So what's he going to rule? Once he leads the suicide mission, because there'll be no survivors. But yeah, it's very. I'm liking where this is going. Wasn't expecting to get Metron in this. That's for sure.
Yeah. The other big thing here, of course, is that this Earth's Batman and Superman eventually come round, because the Batman's like, how did they know he was called David if they're lying? And questions that there could be a multiverse. And then it reveals after a little bit that the Batman from this Earth bugged our Batman, and our Batman knew he was bugged, but he let it go because he wants, let them hear us. Let them hear what we're talking about, because then, they'll see that we are who we say we are, kind of thing. And sure enough, they've heard this backstory that Metron's told them in the cell. So at the end of the issue, like the Batmans and the Supermans are teaming up, and they're in shock when Metron says that this ascension is one big suicide mission. He doesn't want to win. He wants everyone to die. Yeah. So, yeah. I suspect that Gog, whatever his plans are after that, Like, I mean, who can say? He'll probably build something else up. But
well, that's what I mean. It's like he's almost subverting the fifth world. Like, is he going to try to bring back the third world? Right? Is he going to let this push past? Like, I
don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he sees himself as the fifth world. He sees himself as being the leader of that. I don't know.
Right. And just Dan More's art here, like these last couple pages, everything's in shadow, right? Like he does so much with negative space. Just like the darkness on Metron's face as he's explaining that it's a suicide mission. Really, really good stuff. And then older Superman with the gray temples, he just seems bigger than our Superman. Like I know he's probably not, but just the way that he's drawn, and it draws the focus onto this gigantic S on his chest, it makes him feel larger than life when he's meeting our Superman.
Here's a question I've got actually. When Metron's talking about like the ascension, he wants to go beyond the Speed Force wall, beyond the bleed, and I'm like, okay, these are concepts that have been talked about a lot recently in DC events. He wants to have a war on Apocalypse, right? And we get that big full page spread of the war on Darkseid. Does Apocalypse and New Genesis exist outside the multiverse where it's always the same ones?
Yes.
That's the thing?
Because Darkseid and Highfather and all of those, the new gods, are singular beings, right? There's not multiple versions. Although that might be broken now considering what the state of the multiverse is, because if that's the case, Deceased doesn't make any sense, right? Because Darkseid became a zombie.
Exactly, yeah. Because I feel like other multiverse stories have not treated it that way, but the way he was talking here definitely gave me the impression that this is just the one Darkseid, the one Highfather, the one, Apocalypse that is beyond the Speed Force wall, the bleed, all that stuff. But what's weird about that though is that it feels like whenever Darkseid and co are in stories, it feels like getting to Darkseid or getting to Apocalypse and stuff is relatively easy. But it feels like going into the bleed and going past the barrier. That feels like that's the edge of the universe, and that's the thing we never pass through. But it feels like we're going back it feels like we're going back and forwards to Apocalypse quite easily, depending on the story we're reading, which is why that part feels weird to me. Yeah. So in this context here, right? This is a Batman and Superman that have never experienced the multiverse, right? That's what it said early on. Right. So it seems like a Herculean task from this perspective, but as we've read all these stories at this point. So it's one of those, not 0 hour. What's the time? The hyper time kind of adjustments that's made here. But I'm judging it based off of Gog and Metron looking at the map of the multiverse that we're all familiar with, that Morrison created, that has where the orrery is and the realm of the gods and all of that type of stuff. And maybe that's not, this is a past story, so maybe that's not after Infinite Frontier and whatever. That's not the case anymore. But yeah, I think for Earth Zero, it's not that big of a deal, right? We have boom tube technology. That's how they can go back and forth between Apocalypse and New Genesis and, all of that. Here, I don't think they have that. Right? So this would be the Cyborg of this Earth doesn't have the Darkseid technology, because you would assume, right, that they haven't ran into Darkseid yet? Is that what they're saying here? Possibly. I mean, this all sounds very convoluted the way you're describing it. The easier solution to my question would probably be that Apocalypse and New Genesis are in Universe Zero. That's where they are. So for other universes, getting to Apocalypse does mean going through the barrier and the source wall and through the bleed, because you have to go into the main universe to get to it. But that cracks the map though too, that they're looking at here, because they are firmly outside of that realm of the Earth Zero, right? Because Earth Zero is at the center of the orrery, right? And then outside of the orrery, that's where New Genesis and Apocalypse are. Okay, well, fair enough. But my issue here is that it seems far too easy to go to and from Apocalypse in most comics in the last 10 years. To then say it's beyond the source wall when a big part of a lot of the events of the last 10 years have been, the source wall's acting up, something's coming from the source wall. Like,
right, but not on Earth 20. But see, I would say not on Earth 22. They haven't discovered that yet, right? That hasn't got to them.
That's irrelevant. That doesn't matter. That doesn't affect what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, why is it so easy for the characters? Because before we were talking about source walls and mainline continuity, people were boom tubing back and forwards to Apocalypse and whatnot. I'm just saying, Apocalypse and New Genesis don't feel that they're so hard to get to that they're beyond the source wall to me in mainline continuity.
Yeah, let me see. So maybe that's just a slip by Waid, right? Because the source wall is supposed to be the thing that keeps the multiverses apart, right? Because that's where they have the big giants and stuff.
Yeah. So, yes, I remember this from that Snyder story, whatever one that was.
Yeah, from one of the medals.
Infinite Frontier. No, wasn't that, was it? Yeah. It was, that was Williamson.
No, it was, yeah. So no, but it just says beyond the speed force wall, beyond the bleed. It doesn't say anything about the source wall. So they're just saying that it exists beyond the bleed, which is the realm. But the bleed's the space between space, right? And then the speed force wall, that's never factored into. Well, I guess it does for multiverse because the Flash is going to jump between. So yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I read Speed Force Wall as Source Wall, and that's why I'm hanging up on this. But it felt like
because you're making sense, because there shouldn't be beyond the Source Wall is a big mystery, right? That's the whole point.
That's exactly
yeah. So I get what you're saying there, but what I got hung up on is I don't think Apocalypse and New Genesis are beyond the Source Wall.
Yeah,
because the source is where Highfather draws his power from.
I guess part of the problem here is that it's so inconsistent in the comics how they handle it.
Yeah.
But a lot of comics make it feel like Apocalypse and New Genesis are just planets. Yeah. You can just go to them like you can any other planet. Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like in a lot of comics.
Yeah.
So
it does.
Yeah, I don't know. Weird to me. People.
I understand. You're not crazy. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I just don't have a concise answer because I don't think they necessarily do right now, right? It was under my understanding from the time that multiverse became a thing, like the Multiversity book, and when they rewrote the map of the multiverse, is that Apocalypse and New Genesis are singular places. There's not a Apocalypse 1, like there's an Earth 1 and an Earth 2, right? So like the Justin Danger Street, right? That Orion is the same Orion that interacts with, all the different versions, all the different multiverse versions, which seems like it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah. But even that's kind of weird though, because it's like, okay, so why is Darkseid always messing with the main Superman?
Yeah.
He's really focused on Earth Zero Superman. He's not really paying attention to all the other ones.
Right. Well, and so that comes from because Earth Zero, whatever happens there, that's like the Keystone Earth. Right?
Yeah, I know. I'm poking holes because
I got you.
It feels inconsistent in a lot of ways, and I'm just
Mark Waid. If this somehow gets to you, come on the show and explain it to us, please.
I feel like Mark Waid likes to go back to old school ways and like old school continuity, and sometimes maybe it doesn't link up entirely with what the actual books have been doing for the last little while.
True, but then again, why have Dan Mora draw that map in there that's been the thing of the last 10 years, just don't have him do that.
I don't know. I just the question arose in my head as they were talking about this, and I just and
again, it's a good question. Like, I'm not patronizing you or anything. It's something I didn't think of, right? Because I'm just saying, like, Gog's trying to create, He's trying to do this ascension, whatever's in it for him. I'm more concerned about what's in that for him. Like, suddenly, why is he leading a death cult?
Yeah, it also raises the question of like, okay, well, if he takes Apocalypse and
then what?
Magog's left over, is he going to try and invade all of the universes then and control them all, since I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, she's also trying to make this fit into Kingdom Come, right? That's a whole other thing as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, this was a very entertaining read. I enjoyed the backstory as it was set out. I like where it's going. I particularly like the Metron story. I think all of it worked. I like the logic of the Batman and Superman sort of coming to terms with trusting the main versions. I think all those things were a lot of fun to get through. We were just debating some big scope DC nonsense.
As they say on the internet, this is nerd shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're getting caught up in the tangles.
Well, that's the thing. Like what's said in this book is fine in a vacuum. It's only an issue because I'm thinking about every other version that's ever been said that I can remember in my head. So anywho. What are you rating Batman Superman World's Finest?
I'm gonna give this a 7. This is a pretty fine read. The art's fantastic by Mora as usual. Like I feel like that's water's wet, Dan Mora art good at this point. So but 7.
Yeah. That seems about right. I would say I might even go 7.5. So there you go. That's World's Finest. Batman Off-World issue 2. Jason Aaron writing with Doug Mahnke on the art. So issue 1 set up that Batman went off to train against these various aliens on the other side of the universe because an alien showed up on Gotham and he didn't know how to fight it. So that's off what he's doing. He's on this ship where he's effectively a prisoner / slave who has been forced to do dangerous they're clearing like the engines and like the walkways outside the ship and stuff like that.
The term "take them for a spacewalk" and then they just shove them out in space with nothing. God, it's so cruel. Like again, it makes sense. This comes from Jason Aaron. You know?
Well, that comes up after. Basically Batman's keeping everyone alive because they're so used to when people are going out to clear debris. They're used to like X number of like the percentage of people that they send out. Yeah, they're used to people dying every time. But Batman points out that most people don't survive 2 trips. He's had 5. And he's basically keeping the others alive and showing kindness. Yep. And this is like, wait a minute, our cells are getting too full here. We have to start just killing people to get rid of them. But yeah, the whole thing shows that Batman's not only been training with this robot that they set up last issue, he's training up with Ion, the Tamaranian that he's kind of... I mean, befriending might be a strong word, but she certainly...
Can you befriend your frenemy? That's kind of,
Yeah, but she's, being drunk and giving him pointers and saying, the robot won't teach you shit. So she ends up training with them as well and showing, okay, for this particular alien, you want to, grab the tusk because that'll really freak him out and hurt him. So then it cuts back to what he was doing, which was the alien was fighting him, and he knocks off one of his tusks. And the alien will be like, oh my god, where's my tusk? I need my tusk. So basically, he's doing what he said he'd do last issue. He's starting to show them they should fear the Batman, right? That's the whole idea. And sure enough, so it intercuts between him training with her and him fighting this alien in the present day part of the story. So that's like the first half of the issue, and then he's in a cell with her afterwards because she also got into trouble for fighting, and they're getting ready to start their plan. She also tells a little bit of her backstory, how she turned from being a bounty hunter to being someone who tries to save the prisoners because she kind of fell in love with one of them, and to the point where she still turned them over like she was supposed to. Like this guy was a bounty, and she turned them in, but she had feelings for him, and she went back to try and find him later and found out that he died almost instantly. And so that guilt has led her to trying to save the prisoners on this ship. So so we're building up her character a little bit, giving her some reasons to be an ally to Batman. But we get this big prison escape, and probably the heart of the story is that Batman trains the robot to go and cause a distraction and turn off the... Because we learned this last time that the ship has an artificial storm around it that sort of disguises it and makes it difficult to get to. Yeah, makes it this sort of like barrier to get through. And the robot goes and picks a fight with the aliens in the cockpit and turns off this thing. But the big heart of the issue is that even though Batman's ready to leave with the Tamaranian and the other prisoners, he goes off to save the robot. And Ione's like, what the hell are you doing? Like it's just a robot. Just come back. Let's just leave. And Batman encounters one of the aliens with the horns that he was learning to fight. That was the
Icarians.
Yeah. And so he tries to hold his own, and he loses, right? He's not ready to fight one of these guys yet. This is the one that showed up on... Well, I don't know if it's literally the same one, but it's the same species that showed up on Earth.
Similar.
Yeah. So he gets thrown out into space. He's dying. He's in a vacuum. And like his narration's like, yep, I'm losing breath. I'm about to freeze to death and suffocate. And it's all pretty much doomed. But the heart of the issue is that the robot, who's dying right now, has hooked up to a panel and has sent out an automated like pod to rescue Batman. And as he's dying, says, "Thank you for teaching me how to punch back." Right? He's never punched back. And I was like, oh man, for all the kind of like, the tough Batman talk in this, where he's like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to remind them, you know, like. When you get to the end of this issue, and it's like, oh no, he was treating this robot like he's new Robin, and this robot.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Punchbot is proto Robin. You know.
As he's dying, he's saving Batman's life. It's such a great little thing. I was actually really surprised that we got off the ship by the end of this issue. You know, Batman's.
Yeah, me too.
He's crashed on another planet or a moon or something. And he's helping this alien tribe who have been scared because these wolves have been coming out and killing them every night. So Batman's like, I'll deal with the wolves. So the end of this issue is Batman going to this cave and fighting this like really mean looking alien wolf.
Yeah. This is the feast ends here, which is kind of badass.
Yeah.
You know, he's
so it's going full Batman's larger than life. He's like, I might not be at Gotham, but I'm still home because I'm still helping people. I'm still fighting the bad guys, kind of thing. Yeah, Doug Mahnke's art's very good. His bat ears are maybe a touch short at times for my taste, but you know, it's nothing too extreme.
Yeah, but on that last page where he says the feast ends here, they get bigger, but it's almost because he's becoming a monster himself. Like we're looking straight on him, you know. Yeah, there's something I noticed.
I'm
going to talk about Ione, or Ione, whatever her name, however you pronounce it, the Tamaranian, how she's essentially the anti-Starfire.
Yeah,
Whereas, right? So she came, her backstory is, you know, she's from Tamaran, it was tropical paradise, the air smelled like perfume, everything shimmered, everyone was a hugger, drop dead gorgeous, and I couldn't wait to get the hell off. So she goes and becomes a bounty hunter, and almost embraces the complete opposite of that until she falls in love with that prisoner that ends up dying real quick. And I just think that's such a, you know, Batman hasn't met Starfire yet, right? Like, this is an early Batman still. You know, so is this going to inform his views on Tamaranians later, right? Is he going to be shocked that Starfire is so different, you know? And that type of stuff. And then her whole thing too of, you know, you don't use lethal weapons, you don't drink, you don't do any of this. You picked the wrong galaxy to come to, man. Just like her whole vibe there. So I hope this is not the last we see of her. I hope she's a character still. I hope she comes and finds Batman.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
I think she's been set up too much to not pop up again in this story. I don't think she's going to be gone for long. I think she'll be back pretty quickly.
But I mean, shocker, me, you know, instantly taking to the Tamaranian, right? But yeah, no, this was a fun one. Like, just the heart with Punchbot. Like, when he goes in there and he gets shot, I gasped. Like, for real. I was very sad for Punchbot. And then to see him plug in and send out the pod to save Batman when Batman's, you know, on the brink of death. Just really good storytelling.
Yeah, it's surprising me how much I'm liking it. Not because I doubted Jason Aaron, but just because the concept isn't inherently what I typically want from a Batman story.
Yeah.
It probably helps with that Batman's got like 4 other comics that are all doing good Batman stories on their own. Not the main book. But,
no.
I'm thinking...
it's also kind of Batman's war world, I feel, too.
I could see that in a way, yeah.
Because he's learning to deal with these... this completely different society. He can't approach it like he normally would. So he has to make these adjustments. And so I like that those come into play where like Punchbot doesn't understand, he can fight back. So Batman not being part of that culture, part of that society is, showing the other people that he can be the symbol, which is what Batman always set out to be, right?
Yeah, this idea that he's trying to instill, in the same way that Superman was trying to convince the ways of Superman on the people of Warworld, the Warzoons, and inspire them to be hopeful. This is Batman getting into a seedy part of the universe that is full of nothing but, criminals, slavers, and villains, and it's like, no, they need to learn to fear. They need to learn to fear the Batman, and that's...
They're too proud. They need to be knocked down a peg, and I'm the guy to do it.
So, I think it's been a really fun progression so far, and I do think Ione, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I do think she is an interesting new character that is kind of his space Selena Kyle almost in a way. Yeah,
because they are very direct opposites, and she's almost kind of like, oh wow, you're quaint.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hope she shows back up. I hope it's not a long time. Do we know how many this is out of? Is this a 8 issue? Is it 10, 12?
I can't remember. Does it say in the cover, maybe?
It does not. It just says number 2.
I don't know. It'll be at least 6, I would expect. But, I don't remember.
Well, it only goes to 4 on League of Comic Geeks.
Well, that's because that's all that's been solicited, probably.
Yeah. So, but no, this is a lot. Like, I didn't want to read another Batman book, but then Jason Aaron got me. Then it's Mahnke on the art, and I was like, okay. And now it's like thoroughly looking forward to it. Like this is another one that I waited till later to read. So
this was solid. It's the sort of thing where the premise wasn't initially speaking to me, but the craft is so strong that I was just super into it. And I said that pretty much in issue 1, but I think in issue 2, because I came in this time just sort of knowing what I was getting into, that I was able to just sort of enjoy it quicker than I was before. So, no, good. What are you giving Batman Off-World issue 2?
I think this is a solid 8.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. 8 out of 10. Having a good time. All right, Jay Garrick, The Flash, issue 3. Jeremy Adams writing with Diego Olortegui on the art. So, this is fleshing out the Elemental Man. Is that what he's called? The villain? Or Dr. Elemental? Is it Dr. Elemental?
Yeah, Dr. Elemental.
So, we get another example of the JSA fighting him back in the 40s during World War II. And the thing that this sort of reveals, other than just the fact that he can just make elements kind of like a firestorm meets a metamorpho kind of thing. Because he makes
it's very much like that.
He makes like wood to fight Green Lantern, for example. Alan Scott Green Lantern specifically, whose weakness is wood. So it says, okay, so he's pretty tough. He can do this. But the big thing here is that Judy pops up and punches him, and then Jay's like, "Oh, that's my daughter who keeps coming back in time from the future." And I'm like, "Wait, hold on. The future as in a few years after she's born, like in this time period, or the future from present day?" Because that's a pretty big difference, and I'm not sure what it is.
I got so confused why she was there. Because at first I was like, oh yeah, Judy. Wait, no, she's supposed to be around in the 60s. Not the 40s.
Yeah, she's traveling back in time from the future. But yeah, so one of the things they explored with Jay in the present day stuff is that all the memories of her, or when she came back, that also triggered the memories of Dr. Elemental, who he hadn't remembered, which implies that they're tied so much together. And they don't even suggest that Dr. Elemental is like vanished and came back when Judy did. It's all just all more just like, because she was gone, he was just lying in wait until she was back again. before he started to, because we've not seen him in present day, but the Robo Bear from last issue was something that was tied to him, so they speculate that he is back in some form, but we don't know for sure yet. So, but obviously we're building up to something. A lot of this stuff in the flashback as well, which is a lot of the issue, is like she tornado arms to try and fly up, and Jay tornadoes her up from below to make her fly up to the plane that Dr. Elemental's in, because he's trying to run away in a plane, and they use their powers to get up to him, and that's kind of fun. But so I guess if you want to critique it for being like half the issue, in fact maybe even just slightly more than half, is this flashback. Like I can see why you maybe would have a problem with that if you want to just keep the main story going. But yeah, so we come out present day, and they're talking about the Robo Bear and Dr. Elemental and what could be going on. But they go to Terrifitech because the Terrific related super kids that Stargirl rescued from the island are there, and they've got some fancy tech because they believe that Judy saw the face of Dr. Elemental before she disappeared, and she can't remember it, but they've got tech to sort of recover memories and see like an image of it. So that's what they do. They hook her up to their device, and they look at her last memory, and they see the character. And I'm glad they explained this, because I would not have known this had Jay not said it. But he recognizes who this guy is. It's this guy with a mustache. He says, that's Professor Hughes. It's the man responsible for Jay becoming the Flash. So next issue, we're getting the origin of Jay Garrick and Judy and Dr. Elemental. So we're getting like a lot of the lore of Jay and Judy being filled out, seemingly. And I guess maybe that's why the choice was made to have the flashback be this big action-packed section, because they knew the present-day story was going to be mostly just people talking and ending with this cliffhanger. So I get the logic of it, but that's what the issue is. How did you feel about this one?
So I liked it. I liked it. It seems like Adams is continuing some of the threads that he had that are about, the Flash family in and of itself. And then because it's not just, what is it, Quiz Kid that's there. It's Terrific's son that was taken.
Oh yeah, that's because this was from the end of the Flash run, because it says 799, I think, was the issue.
Yeah. And so the fact that now, there's that at play too. I like that he was keeping that going. Just kind of I remember, kind of like a reminder there.
Yeah. But Quiz Kid was from the island, right?
Yes.
With Stargirl?
Yes, Quiz Kid was. And there was the other one that was taken right before his wife died, or something along those lines. There was some weird timey-wimey stuff at play in that last Flash. But I really love the Justice Society stuff here, just because it's been a while since we've had the classic JSA. So just to see all of these characters interacting was a lot of fun. And I think Adams has a knack for these characters too. Just like seeing the stuff like with the quicksand and the original Adam, dealing with all of that was a lot of fun. But then the one scene that really stuck out to me is in present day when Judy and Jay are arguing, and she's like, you can't just check in on me anytime you want. Like, I'm still, I still have, my own, I can take care of myself and all that stuff. And it cuts over to Mr. Terrific and Stargirl. And she's like, yeah, they're talking to each other at super speed. It sounds like squirrels on a sugar high. And then you just see them in what, would be a blur. I thought that was a whole lot of fun. Just, not quite world building, but just, what life would be like interacting with these people. So I like that Adams takes beats to do stuff like that. It really makes the relationships feel more natural. So, but yeah, this guy, Professor Hughes, I looked up and it looks like it's one of those type of retcons where it's like, oh yeah, well, Jay got his powers in college, in a lab where he inhaled, these vapors that, that unlocked his metagene or whatever. I don't think Professor Hughes was ever actually mentioned. So I feel like this is like an like a new old character, which I always prefer rather than like, oh, this character was there the whole time and you guys didn't know he was actually evil, But yeah, so what were you going to say?
Oh yeah, no, it just makes sense that there was a professor there if he was in college. It makes sense that there was a professor involved in some capacity.
Yeah.
So, I think it's good as well that it has like this consistent supporting cast where Stargirl, Mr. Terrific are these like constant kind of mainstays in the cast. I think that helps flesh it out a little bit. Definitely curious to see where this whole Judy's traveling back in time to fight Dr. Elemental.
Yeah.
That does feel like to me we're going to build up to that in present day where she starts doing that for a reason. But we'll see. Because right now I don't know why she does it, but maybe that becomes the plan, is for her to go back in time and try and beat him each time that he tries to do something. I don't know. But because this is the first one that's had that element added to it, where, because we've seen flashbacks before where they're fighting Dr. Elemental, but this is the first one where all of a sudden Judy's coming back from the future to fight him. Yeah. So very curious. Very curious.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, what are you giving J. Garrick the Flash?
I'm gonna give this a 7.5.
Yeah, I think it's just a straight 7, but it's fun. I'm enjoying the characters and the chemistry. Art's pretty solid. So, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 3. Jeff Parker writing with Michele, Bandini, and Trevor Hairsine on the art. So, this issue splits up into a couple of things. The first chunk of it is the fallout to the tease last time that I called them angels. They call them
they're harpies.
Harpies, thank you. They call them harpies here in this issue. So they've been released and they've flown from Scotland down to London, by the sounds of it. Which I guess fair enough. I do worry though sometimes that writers are like, oh, they're both the UK. They're right next to each other. They're not really.
No, it's quite like I don't know what the size of your island is, but as far as I know, that's pretty a big distance, right? Like,
I mean, like, obviously it's nothing compared to some of the distances in the US, but it's just kind of like, I worry. It's like, oh, London's the most famous city in the UK, so we'll say London, even though it would have made more sense to say, I don't know, like Edinburgh or something, because it's actually in the same country. But whatever. Well,
sometimes I feel like it's the artists also just want to draw landmarks. Right? So they can find spots to draw. So
you say that, but I'm looking through these pages and I don't see a single landmark.
No.
Anyway, so this is basically Hawk Girl fighting these along with Joe, which was an interesting little pull.
Yeah.
And this is in continuity, so I do wonder like the status of Joe's Green Lantern hood and the current Green Lantern ongoings that are happening.
And her ring is quite different as well, if I remember First Sector right.
That's true. So, very interesting. But they're working together, and then Wonder Woman shows up. I will say on the art here, that's going to sound like a weird complaint almost, but not having the white trim on the blue warrior skirt, or whatever you want to call those parts, felt like it was really missing. It's almost like it looks naked almost without the white trim. And it felt weird just having the solid blue. It's a minor thing, really, but it's consistent in all the panels she's in. So it's not. It's definitely the choice they've made here.
It's an artistic choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it felt off. Like just too plain. Like there was something missing, I guess. But yeah, they're fighting all the harpies, and it's all kind of in the grey clouds of the UK, which that does seem accurate, to be fair. So. She tries to communicate with one by lassoing it to find out what's going on. But yeah, so that's the first chunk of the issue. That's kind of the action half of the issue is all that fight. Which the last issue, issue 2 kind of did that as well with, remember Miss Martian and some of the other, Green Arrow I think was there, and they were fighting some of the monsters. So we do cut to Superman, Batman, and Blue Beetle, of all people, who's constantly amazed that they're going off to see Santa Claus, but they meet an elf, and the elf is like, well, technically we're this, but yes, we've become to known as elves. They're called the Holdu folk, which I'm sure comes from Norse mythology as well, because there's two different kinds of elves. These guys look more like the light elves, but it doesn't help that his name's Peppermint John.
No.
Like, yeah, buddy, you're an elf. All right, you're making the toys. But I do love that Parker's constantly just twisting the Santa mythos a little bit here. and he offers them they couldn't return to their lands, and so he gave them essentially a sanctuary, but for a trade they have to help him make the toys. So I like that comes into play. It's still not forgetting this is a Santa book.
Yeah, and even Superman's kind of starstruck when he meets Santa, and he's like, Kent, farm in Smallville. Yeah. He's like, you read my letter? Like he's in awe. He's in awe. It's quite charming because he's Superman.
I love it. And this is where the Bandini art picks back up. Just the big goofy smile on Clark's face. I can't believe you read my letter. And then Blue Beetle's like, hey, man, back here, as they're fighting this giant sea serpent. You know?
Well, that's what Santa was doing when they come through the portal.
Yep.
As he was fighting this big urchin, and we actually see Superman is inside it and lifts it up from the inside, so we get this big visual of this, like, it's an urchin, so it's like a big snake almost, just like in the sky, and the sun's beaming behind it. It's all very entertaining. But, so we get, again, a portal to Krampus, right? Batman, Batgirl, Blue Beetle, the elf, and all that. They go to Greenland because that's where Krampus is. And they go on the hunt. Black Canary blasts them with her voice. Superman and Co are still fighting the sea urchin. But Superman flies out, goes after Krampus, and tries to get a hold of him. But
Superman has him in a pretty good, like, it's not quite a choke, right? But he's got him. And so I'm watching and like, how's Krampus going to get out of this? Was not expecting what happens next.
Yeah, Superman gets
possessed.
Yeah, he's infected. He basically starts working for Krampus. While Krampus grabs Damien because he's like, "You're an awful little child. You need to be punished." which I did think was quite funny actually. Is him kidnapping Damien because he is an awful child
and taking him to hell. I love it.
But there's an army of folklore beings coming to fight Santa. So possessed Superman's hovering above, and the last page is all these. What would you even call these? Like,
well, they look like frost giants and trolls. It looks like Fenrir. So again, these all look like Norse mythological.
That's what I was kind of getting at. Is various Norse sort of. Yeah, not gods, but various
creatures.
Yeah, creatures. Yeah, I guess that's the best word.
Yeah, so Superman gets possessed, and they say this one has been in our realm before. They think they win when they lose. So that's a tell, and then it seems like it's another. So like Krampus is still possessed, right? So it's not like whatever had Krampus jumps into Clark. It says, "Take the mighty man, I remain in the wild one." Right? So, because I thought at first, because I had to go back and reread this back half, I thought, Krampus had just like, it freed from Superman, and then he just grabbed Damien because that's what he's used to, right? Taking the naughty kids. But no, so I thought that was, that's part of the clue. So I'm trying to figure out who's corrupted Krampus, right?
Yeah, but it seems like it's like there's more than one evil entity, and like the second one is possessed Superman, and the first one's still possessing Krampus.
And so and then so these are creatures that because remember Santa came with the Wild Hunt, got left behind. These are creatures that he had hunted and had locked in this glacier, and Superman cracks it open, and that's how they come out. We have the next one coming out this week. Curious to see where it goes.
It's the last issue next as well.
Yeah, and so curious to see where it goes with the folklore and who's behind all of this. But it seems like now that this is in continuity, and that Santa's a DC character now. And if they wanted to, I would every year a Santa special around this time. I would definitely read it.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. But yeah, it's an interesting little spin on things. It's like, okay, there's a big bad that's actually corrupting Krampus. And that same big bad is now corrupting Superman. Is that something they're going to like be pulling from Norse mythology, or is this a DC thing that's just, is this going to turn out to be a DC villain that's doing this? I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that he says this one's been to our realm before tells me something. I don't know what that is though, but they're talking about Superman, so I've been racking my brain. I get nothing. I mean, nothing is coming up yet.
Superman's went to obviously other Earths, other universes. Realm sounds less like another Earth though, and more like, I don't know,
like a dimension, like an offset.
Yeah.
Like the Phantom Zone's a realm, right? Like, but yeah. So I mean, good on the mystery for Parker that I haven't been able to piece this together. But I'm definitely enjoying it, and the Bandini art especially. I'm not a big fan of that Hairsine art. Like, it wasn't just the Wonder Woman, skirt, trim and stuff. I just when she's, I know what they were trying with the hair being up and around because she's flying in the air. It just, I don't know. The art just kind of looked messy. It's a little bit too sketchy for my liking, and that works when it's like deceased and we can play on the zombie tropes and all of that. Or even I think Hairsine did some Animal Man, if I'm not mistaken, during Rot World. Again, that makes sense, but here with the harpies and just everything, I don't know, just not my taste. So when we finally got to the Bandini art, I was very happy.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the art overall from Hairsine. I thought it had a lot of sense of motion, had a lot of speed lines and things like that. The atmosphere of it was quite good. It was really just it felt like Wonder Woman had a slightly different outfit than she's supposed to have, and that just kind of caught me off guard. But I would say I like the Hairsine art in here. Like, I think he definitely has his weak spots occasionally, and I definitely remember that in Deceased, where sometimes he'd do like skinny heads or whatever. But I wasn't really catching his weaknesses here in this this half of the issue. But I mean,
like, again, it just comes down to taste. I think
it is just a taste thing here, because I don't think it's bad at all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you giving?
Despite that, I'm still going to give this an 8.
Okay. What do I want to give it? Yeah. I'll go 8 as well. Well, yeah, I'll go 8 as well. Debating it.
Yeah, I'm just checking comments in League of Comic Geeks, because sometimes people put like reviews to see if they have any ideas. So far there's nothing. So not just us.
We'll see. All right, last up this week, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, issue 3. Brian Buccellato writing with Christian Duce on the art. So last issue ended with Superman getting the worst end of a heat vision atomic breath face off and getting melted.
Face off. His face. He's worse for wear.
Godzilla took his face off.
Yes.
No, okay. Making a face-off reference. So this issue gets to that, although it doesn't start with that. It starts off with a bunch of Central City stuff with the Flash coming in, and over Iron Heights there's a giant spider that has Cthulhu tentacles from its mouth. So that's fun.
Because why not?
Yeah,
why not?
So he's dancing around all the villains, and I was thinking, maybe the villains are going to help him, but nah, that does not happen. Supergirl shows up, though, and helps sort of take away some of the toxic atmosphere that the spider's creating. Hal shows up as well, so we got a Green Lantern there, and they're all dealing with stuff. But Supergirl, though, hears that, or she doesn't hear, more accurately, she can't hear Clark's heart. She's like, I can usually hear Superman's heartbeat anywhere in the world, but I don't hear it. I have to go. So she kind of just ditches them, even though they kind of need her help. And we see the aftermath of Godzilla roaring in the middle of the street as Billy Batson's trying to wake up a knocked out Superman. To the point where they think he's dead. Like, people are saying, oh, like, Superman's died.
Yeah.
And then we got this big cameo out of nowhere where you see this tease of a foot getting bigger in the street. Yep. And then you realize in the next page it's Atom Smasher, who's grown as tall as Godzilla, and try to fight him. And this is definitely out of continuity, because Atom Smasher gets killed. Godzilla bites him in the neck and just ends him.
Is he? Oh, yes, it does. it killed them. Shoot.
Oh, well, at the very least, Billy thinks he's dead. I mean, maybe he'll turn out to be wrong.
Yeah, he's hurt. Like, he's no doubt about it. But look, I was expecting more of a Power Ranger fight here. I love this. Like, Adam Smasher goes for the single leg, you know, like he's an actual wrestler on Godzilla, which, yeah, good on you, man, you know. But yeah, it definitely gets dark.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
It was some poor choices, and then Billy's like, get Superman's body out of here. I'll hold off Godzilla, and he shouts Shazam, and the lightning bolt goes through Godzilla's chest, which is a pretty badass moment. And when he flies up to punch him, though, give him an uppercut, Supergirl has arrived, and it ends up in a double punch. So that's a really nice, because you don't know she's coming in the previous page. It's just there's like, so it's a full page spread of them punching Godzilla, but there's a sort of there's a thin panel on the left to sort of give you a close up of the fists first, and that's where you first see her. You see her fists come in on that panel. So it's a really nice. The pacing is quite nice here, I guess, is what I'm saying. And then you get a 2-page layout, so there's a nice big horizontal panel of Godzilla landing in a building. So they've basically knocked him out for a little bit, but they know he's going to get back up. It's not permanent, but it's like, okay, this gives us time to deal with Superman. So Kara says, get him to the fortress. So Hawkgirl's flying him to the fortress as Supergirl goes off to fly and maybe help someone else. So it goes back to Iron Heights, we find out eventually. But the Hal and Barry are doing their best to try and fight this spider thing, to the point where some of the rogues even kind of seem to start helping. But the Legion of Doom are here to try and get the other villains to get their ranks built up, as they're also looking for Toyman because he started all this shit, so they're mad at him. So that stuff's fun. We also see a little bit more of Themyscira with the big mammoth, and Donna and Wonder Woman have this insane plan to use both their lassos to try and like communicate with the big beast. But it's kind of cut short because something calls the beast away, like he's hearing a signal. So he goes off into the distance, and that becomes something that we kind of become aware of by the end. Go back to Iron Heights. Supergirl shows up and helps fight the big spider. Flash is doing his tornado arms and all the rest of it. And then we jump back to Skull Island, because if you remember, Oliver landed there last time. So we get a little bit of King Kong fighting a random monster, and King Kong looking down at him. My favourite part of this, though, is that Supergirl also comes here. She flies to Skull Island. It's a very Supergirl heavy issue, which is kind of cool. She comes to Skull Island. Kong sees her, and he sort of slows down, and he sort of puts his hand up to her, and I'm like, oh yeah, he likes blondes. He's probably trying to take Supergirl as his next girl. And Supergirl's like, F that, and punches him in the face, which made me laugh out loud. I'm not going to lie.
I wanted her to yell manners. I really wanted her to.
I just love the idea that she actually hurts him, though, because he's holding his nose after, like, what the hell?
Well, then he has like a fit, right? He starts beating his chest and yelling, and So I need more Kong, though. This is a fun series, but it's been short on Kong, and he's in the title, so give me more, please.
This had the right amount. We go to Gotham, which is the one team that's managed to take down their monster, because Batman. They've taken down their big bat monster, and they're talking about what to do. And Shazam shows up and is like, Superman's dead. And I actually kind of love the reaction here. I think the art gets a little wonky. But I did love the reaction here from Batman, where he's like, nope, we're not telling Lois. No one's pronouncing him dead until I've checked the goddamn body, right? Like, I'm going to do that properly. So I thought that was cool. Anyway, there was a lot of jumping around here. Like, the first half was quite focused, and then it was jumping around the locations quite a bit, which is not a complaint. It all flowed well enough in the reading. But the end of the issue is that the signal that's drawing all the monsters somewhere in the south.
It's in the Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico.
It was Mexico. It's Lex. He's turned on some giant beacon thing that's attracting them all here.
It looks like a gigantic Hal from 2001.
Yeah. I can't imagine what Lex has got concocting here, what his plan is.
Yeah.
But he's got something going. But But
For sure.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, this continues to be a lot of fun. I think them really selling the idea that Superman's it's almost like when Superman fought Doomsday. That's what fighting Godzilla was like. It's really put him out, and they're all worried about him. That gives it some weight. I like Supergirl getting a bit of a spotlight and going around and like helping solve various crises at once. Really nice. I always love a good bit of Hal and Barry bantering, so them working together is also good fun. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to have a good time with this. Favorite moment was probably Kong trying to grab Supergirl because he's like, ooh, blonde, and her just punching him and it hurt him. And
I know you probably haven't watched WWE in a long time, but from the highlights from was when they put Otis and Mandy Rose together, and he would just yell, "Pretty lady." That was the same vibe that I had of Kong looking at Kara. So, that gave me quite the laugh. But yeah, didn't even factor into the whole Kong blonde thing until right now, because we had Ollie there, right? He's not going to go, Ollie's a blonde, but not like Kara is. So...
Yeah, but I mean, there's a running trend in all the Kong movies. He seems to have a type, as we'll just say.
A big type, Naomi Watts, Fay Ray, was it Jessica Lange, Brie Larson. Yeah, definitely a type.
I wouldn't say Brie Larson gets the same treatment. Like that, they don't really go down that plot avenue in that movie.
No, but she was blonde, and I just was going to reach for it.
All right, it's a reach, but I'll give you it.
So I'm trying to figure out what the hell Behemoth is. Is it a mammoth? Is it a sloth with tusks? Like, what is this thing? Because it doesn't have the nose.
It's a titan. It's a made up monster. It could be whatever it wants.
Yes, I know this, but still, like, what, like, because the Titans even they have a general vibe to them, right? Like Mothra's a giant moth, Rodan's a pterodactyl, right? Like, what is he? Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch King of the Monsters, but I know we don't really get a good view of Behemoth, right?
No, he's not a big prominent part of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what's really bugging me is there was a panel in one of the comics this week that I wanted to point out for having a horrible face, and I can't remember. I can't remember which one it is now. But I remember thinking when I was thinking of this when I was reading them that it was a book with otherwise pretty solid art. It wasn't like it was bad art throughout. It was just one. It was one reaction panel of a character looking shocked. It looked really, really bad, and it's bugging me now that I've not noticed it when we've been talking about them and looking through them because I wanted to bring it up. So. It wasn't in this issue though because I checked. I thought maybe it was this one and it wasn't. So
right.
But I wanted to bring it up. Yeah, oh well. Yeah. So good fun time. I'm still having a blast reading this. It's been a good month or two for Godzilla as a overall thing, and I love the weight that they've given him and how difficult the heroes are finding fighting him. Obviously, once he goes up against Batman, it's more of an even match. So we'll see how that plays.
God. I do like that Shazam and Kara, though, are able to knock down Godzilla, because it does make him seem like less of a force of nature, But it also shows that Superman trying to reason with him was the weakness.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it doesn't make him a force. I wouldn't say it doesn't make him a force of nature. I would say that Superman on his own couldn't stand a chance, but two Superman-powered people punching at the same time at least gets him down. Not for long, admittedly, but it does at least put him down. So it gives us a bit of a barometer for if two people with that power level can knock him down, then if we get a whole team of people, then what can we accomplish then, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I just hope this doesn't try to do the Kong's the good one that'll be on the hero's side nonsense. We don't need that.
No, because I feel like this is building to whatever Lex is unleashing, right? I feel like this is going the Mecha Godzilla kind of route, So they're gonna have to team up.
Maybe Lex spells Mecha Godzilla. I mean, it seems like a very Lex thing to do.
Yeah, but it's gotta have a big bald head, right? It's just Mecha Godzilla with a big bald head. I think that'd be real funny.
Well, it's not like Mecha Godzilla usually has hair.
No, but he has the fin on the top, right? Like he has the ridge thing.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, It's not much of a difference. I feel like you're describing Big Mecha Lex rather than Big Mecha Godzilla.
I mean, why not Mecha Lex? Plus, that sounds like, you know, Godzilla versus Mecha Lex sounds like an actual movie, right?
Versus Mecha Lex. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're going to pull the whole thing where Godzilla and Kong are technically on the good side by the end because of whatever Lex has unleashed, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do that. But I'm not sure how we get there from here quite yet. But that's fine.
I don't either.
We're only 3 issues in, and this is I think 7 issues. So I
believe so.
So we'll see how it pans out. Yeah, like I say, like I think the art here or there is a little wonky on some faces. Like that Batman, as much as I like the moment from what the moment is and what the dialogue is, I think Batman looks a bit weird as he says he's not dead. Kind of a weird shading thing going on, where he looks, I don't know, he's got kind of a, like the new True Lies 4K remaster that's been overly AI'd and DNR'd and looks unnatural and fake. It kind of looks a little bit like that, but in comic art form.
Very, very hyper specific.
Well, it's disappointing. I've been waiting 20 years for a decent transfer in True Lies, and they've butchered it with technology, bastards.
That's a shame.
Yeah. At least the Abyss turned out alright, though.
Yeah.
Because I've also been waiting for that for 20 plus years at this point. Anyway, that's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. It's solid good fun. What are you rating issue 3?
I'll go with 7.5.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think 7.5 sounds good. All right, what am I doing? I'm trying to actually rate something again. That's the end of the show. It's been a long episode, guys.
Pete's hungry, I can tell. Until he starts to get a little bit loopy, he starts to go a lot quicker.
I'm deteriorating.
Some of these books.
Yeah, I'm deteriorating towards the end of the show.
He stops making sense, starts sounding like me, and that's always trouble. Can't have 2 Matts.
I know. I'm supposed to steer the ship, and I'm...
Yeah. Can't have both of us trying to steer. That's how you go in circles.
All right, that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course, top 5 books. What's your panel/moment, Matt?
Oh, man. I really, just because it kind of rubbed you the wrong way, I kind of love Train Robber Superman. That's so fun and dumb. But my moment's going to be from Green Lantern War Journal, and it's going to be the when he tells Baron, you know, you might have been a killer, but you're not a fighter. You're definitely no Green Lantern. That stood out for me.
Yeah, I don't know what my moment is. I mean, I like the Kong Supergirl moment. That's kind of fun. I like the backstory in the Nightwing book. That said, though, I mean, it probably has to be probably some from Wonder Woman if I'm to narrow it down. I think, yeah, probably when the kid asks, like, is there something wrong with me? Am I sick in the inside because I like you and not Batman or Superman? And then Wonder Woman's reaction to it. Yeah, I'm going for a touching moment. I'm not going for a silly moment. This is not a silly moment week. This is an important, poignant moment week. So I'll go with that. All right, cover of the week. And I read all the books this week, so I had no time to look while you were talking.
Yeah, so as we would talk about them, I would click on them on the Comic Geeks to look.
Oh, very smart.
So, yeah. I like the main Wonder Woman cover. That's got the graffiti on her. It says, you know, traitor. That's super solid. And some of the variants on here too. There's a Bruno Redondo, but it looks like a Greek mosaic. So that's pretty clever.
I can see that.
That one, I like that one. And then what else? Nightwing always has good covers, especially these like minimalistic ones, where it's got him diving. The main cover has him diving into the water. And then he's cutting through and it makes the Nightwing logo.
Yeah, it's very smart. It's very good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It's clicking on some of these variants takes a little bit of time. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree for the most part of the ones that you've said. Yeah, there's kind of a fun couple of covers for the Santa book, you know, Superman versus Krampus. I would say
Superman has a variant that is the Action Comics 1 cover, but it's Santa and the sleigh, and instead of the guy that's freaking out, it's an elf.
that's very good.
And that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I will say there's a variant for Santa Claus, or Silent Night, I should say, which has got Black Canary on it, and like they've made Black Canary look like an anime girl from like the weebs would love. Like it's really distressing, like how sort of like 14-year-old she looks, but it's whatever.
Oh yeah, that's ooh, that's like, rough.
You know what's funny is it's not that overly sexualized because it's not got like a super like she's not bending over or doing anything like that. It's just the face. It's very much appealing to a very particular demographic, and I'm uncomfortable looking at it.
For sure.
Anywho, what's my pick? Right, it's none of those. I might just look at the Godzilla covers just in case there's one in here that's worth doing. There's a cover. It's the John Boy Myers variant where it's Superman standing at the bottom and Godzilla's overlooking him. That's not bad.
That was top 3.
That's not bad. For me. That said, though, actually, just before I say my pick, there's a variant by Gerald Perel for World's Finest, and I'm only bringing it up. It's an alright variant, but I'm bringing it up because Superman on the cover looks like Stephen Lang from Avatar. He looks like Quaritch.
Let's see. Oh, he does. Hooey.
It looks like he's getting the turkey baster out.
Yep, I was gonna say don't break into his house.
No, I think my pick's probably the regular Wonder Woman cover. If I'm, yeah.
So as we've been through them all, I can give mine now, and I didn't mention it because I don't want you to steal it. Not that it matters. But Bruno Redondo has a variant for Superman.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Superman holding up the Daily Planet globe while giving a teddy bear back to a child. And it's very classic Superman. And yeah, so that one's mine.
Yeah, actually, I just want to point out there's a variant from Jamal Campbell, I think it is, for Nightwing, and it's like a pirate Nightwing with what he's wearing in the comic, with the shirt and that.
Yep.
But he's with who I can only assume is meant to be Babs, and it's a nice piece of art, but like the hair's done in such an old fashioned way that it doesn't even look like Babs anymore. It just you can tell it's her because there's a bit of purple, a bit of yellow and black in the outfit, but it's I don't know. It's like
it's meant to be one of those Fabio romance novel covers.
But they've went so far with the hair that it doesn't even look like Babs anymore, and I just wanted to point that out. Anyway,
I'm clicking on it to look. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. It just looks like a random blonde at this point. Anywho, best art of the week, Matt.
All right, so I mean, Dan Mora for World's Finest is always in there. Also, Redondo for Superman is good.
Yeah, but it's going to be Sampere, isn't it?
Sampere, yep, from Wonder Woman. That's where we're at. It's also Zermanico for Green Lantern. Always in the running as well. This week is brutal for picking favorite art.
That was not Zermanico. That was Montos.
That was not Zermanico. Well, look at that. I look stupid. I enjoyed the art nonetheless.
No, the art was good. Know.
It was Montos, not Zermanico. Zermanico does Green Lantern. See?
He does the main book. Yeah, he does the Hal book.
Montos is who I meant to say as well. Yes.
You're mixing them up because they both have the one name gimmick. So you're mixing them up. Yeah, okay. I see what you said.
100%.
It's Sampere for me. Obviously, there was some other good artists this week for sure, but the Sampere stuff just stuck out the most to me. So, very good. All right, top 5 books, Matt. On you go.
All right, so number 1's going to be Green Lantern. 2, or Green Lantern War Journal. 2 is Wonder Woman. 3 is Superman. 4, Nightwing. And 5, I'm trying to remember all my ratings. 5, World's Finest.
All right, my number 1 is Wonder Woman. My number 2 is Green Lantern War Journal. My number 3 is Batman Offworld, I think. Number 4 is probably World's Finest, and then number 5, there's like a bunch of things I could pick for this. I will probably go with Silent Night. But honestly, the number 5 spot, I had a bunch of stuff rated a 7 and a 7.5. Like, any of those could have slotted in there at the end.
Yeah.
For that last slot. But yeah. Alright, well, there you go. There's the books. I will tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. And no, they are not taking a quiet week because it's the week between Christmas and New Year. They're just pumping out everything anyway. So coming next week, we got Detective Comics 1080, Action Comics Annual 2023. So that's going to be the finale to the Johnson run. We have Titans issue 6, Green Arrow issue 7, The Flash issue 4, Justice Society of America issue 8, Harley Quinn 35, Batman the Brave and the Bold issue 8, Titans Beast World issue 3, The Penguin issue 5, Alan Scott Green Lantern issue 3, Power Girl issue 4, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night issue 4, Batman Beyond Neo Gothic issue 6, Cyborg issue 6, Amazon's Attack issue 3, and the Sandman Universe Nightmare Country of the Glass House. So, yeah, still a lot of meaty stuff in there, honestly.
Yeah. I'm excited for Tech. I'm really excited for that one. And the Action Comics. Although the Action Comics Annual is bittersweet, because that's the last Johnson story.
Yeah, I think I've got 10 books again, the bastards.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Well, I'm just waiting on Matt counting now, apparently.
10. I have 11, and that's not counting Alan Scott.
Yeah,
So,
I think I'm letting that one go.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, the Spectre's on the cover, though. Oh, man, I love the Spectre. We'll see. I mean, we also have a Tom King book in The Penguin. So that'll make for a meaty conversation as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
it usually does. And I have Green Arrow because I hate myself.
Oh, that's the extra one you've got. Okay.
It's not that bad, but it's also not that good.
Hey, it's a new arc. You're starting off a new arc. Maybe you'll get something nice from it. I
think Sean Isaacs is the sole artist. I'm gonna look. Let's see. No, it's Carmen Domenico. I can't say it right now. And Trevor Hairsine. Oh, great. Yeah. Got to say, it wasn't my taste, and now I get more. I love it.
Yeah, well, there you go. That is the show. It's been a busy few days, so reading all the books and stuff and fitting this recording in have been especially hectic this week. But hey, what's to expect right before Christmas, I suppose. So thank you very much for joining us. You can support the show over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses, particularly a little bit early access if you want. And you can help keep the show coming by doing that. You can also help us for free by liking the show on YouTube or rating the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. Helps us out a bunch. Get us on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. But that is us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.